Well, I'm back, and I've got a new person.
Hi, I'm
He's
the new person.
he's in charge.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
well,
Mostly, sure.
you should be. You're the only adult in this room.
I aren't you older than me? I don't remember. It's been so long.
No, I
Uh,
think we're the same age. So, for people that don't know, we've known each other since grade school.
yeah, yes, grade
Literally
school.
since grade school.
Um,
Um,
the
God,
first time, well, the first core memory I have with you, I think we were like 11, and in your bedroom on the floor with like spreads of comic books out around us. And I remember like the most vivid ones for me were Incredible Hulk and the Mighty Thor. Um, and it blossomed from there, and we would watch kung fu movies, and we would sneak and play your dad's Larry Leisure Suit game on the computer. And
I remember we made up a wrestling game in your
we
basement,
did. We made up a wrestling game. We
like
played a bunch
RPG,
of. Yep, we did. We played a lot of Marvel.
the
Um,
fast rip game.
yep, the
I
fast rip
remember
game.
you and I and Neil Magnuson watching Superpowers.
Yes.
Neil's a year or 2 years younger than us.
Yeah, he's a couple years younger than us. I
Yeah,
think maybe a
and
year.
I can remember just like all kinds of stuff like that. It just yeah, it's one of my favorite things to think back and go that like how I was like super dorky, super dorky, super dorky, and then like kind of like for whatever reason did a bunch of sports for a while, and then in college was like, God, I don't like these people. Like I want to be dorky. Why can't I be
Yeah.
dorky some more?
Yeah.
So I
Fair.
went back to being hard, or, but I was like, well, I'm
I
just
mean,
gonna be my true self.
yeah. I went away from dorky and just became a theater kid,
But
which
you were good at
was
that.
just as dorky. But
You were so good at that though.
yeah, it
Like
was fun.
my aunt to this day is like, I would say you and Neil are probably her two. Like, oh, I was there when these two were just blossoming
Yeah,
little
Susan's special.
actors.
I miss
Yeah,
her. I saw her a few years ago, and it
you've seen her
was
more
it was a
recently than
nice
I have.
reunion, huh?
Yeah, you said you've seen her more often than I have.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
can't think of the last time I was in Kansas. Probably like 7 or 8 years ago.
it was probably 7 or yeah, and we tried to connect the last time you were in Kansas, and then because you were headed to get some chicken Annie's, and I
Yes,
I couldn't make I don't even remember what kept me away. Probably
you were in
work.
Pittsburgh at the time.
Yeah, I was living in Pittsburgh at the time. I probably work. I don't even remember,
I
but
think it was work. I think it was like we tried to figure out. That was a couple times ago. That was, I think, that might have been when my grandpa died.
I think it was when your grandpa passed away. Yeah.
Because then I
Yeah.
went back when my dad died, and then I went last time I was back. Last time I was down there was when my grandma died. So I say I only go down there if there's a wedding or a
Going to
funeral.
Kansas for death.
Yeah, I pretty much go for death.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and you and I lost touch for several years, and then I don't even remember how we reconnected, but we did, probably
I
Facebook.
I think it was
Um,
Facebook, and then you and Curtis had I don't know if it's still going or not. I imagine it is.
Barely.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
you had such a good crew of
Curtis.
people.
Yeah, we really did. Curtis put it out, and I thought we had a great thing going. We had a bunch of streams going on the TTRP Theater. We had a variety of games. We had Cult. We had you guys playing D&D. We were playing, my group was playing Prowlers and Paragons, the superhero game. I mean, a whole bunch, Delta Green, and I mean,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of really fun stuff. And then Curtis got this offer from the company that makes and publishes Cult, and kind of just threw everybody else away, not intentionally.
No, I always felt bad because you reached out and were like, "Hey, this is what's going to happen." I reached out to Curtis. I never heard anything from him.
Yeah, Curtis is. I love him to death. He's a hermit, and
I get that.
he struggles sometimes to handle things in what most people consider normal ways. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So
I still think
my friends and I, the Renaissance City group that played Prowlers and Paragons, we've been playing D&D. We still have, an audio podcast going called Desert City. We're about to get to the finale of that sometime.
If you want to stream, you know where you can do it.
Right. Yeah. We've never really streamed it. It's always been audio.
There's nothing wrong with that. I know that for a while, like so our thing came out of, we were doing our regular heel turn stuff. And then I made a joke that we should do something called D&DDT, where we had wrestlers play Dungeons & Dragons. And then that literally turned into like 4 or 5 years campaign. And then I was like, well, I want to do something where, because I was kind of, and I'm not trying to be mean, but some of the people I played with that group, by the end, I wanted to strangle them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just was like, this is not my style of play. And it's getting to I think I played like 4 or 5 different characters because I get bored with a character, even though I liked all the characters I played. Also, I made the mistake of referring to us as the Tasty Boys, and that has never fucking died.
That's never left.
No,
that's never left. You did that to yourself.
Bane of my fucking existence.
You did that to yourself.
I did. The podcasts are still out there, and I'll be honest, as I've gotten older, and I wasn't playing in it, I hate listening to anything I do. I went back and listened to some of those, and the reality is they're very fun.
They are very fun.
It's very dumb and in the best possible way. So then we did Domains of Dread for TTRPG Theater, and then wrapped that up. I still think it's maybe the best ending I've ever had the privilege of doing. Great players.
Yeah, and then you guys great squad on that one.
You guys moved to Cult, but without that, there would have been, I don't think I would have done streaming RPGs, to be honest with you. It was kind of a nice kick in the pants of like, literally we had the conversation, do you want to keep doing this? And it was like, well, let's try it out. I mean, we can't suck that bad. So we just kept doing it. And I mean, it's been like forever we've been doing this now.
Yeah, we've been going 5.5 years at this point. So you've been going at least 4, if not more.
I think we looked in Domains of Dread is like 7 or 8 years ago. And that was like I think we played for 3 years with that, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Down Outlands went like 5 or 6. So now we've been doing a lot other stuff. So trying to do different stuff. So doing like more mini-series stuff, and then Star Wars has been going on for a while. I've ran 2 different groups consistently, pretty much, of using the PBTA hack of stuff for Star Wars. So
nice.
The funny thing is, you and I never get to play together.
Right. We've tried to connect them, I don't know how many hundreds of times.
You were like, hey, I got a game.
Right.
And you sent it to me. And this is a really interesting game. Why don't you tell everybody what it is?
So this game is called Anyone Can Wear the Mask. It's written by a guy named Jeff Stormer. If you don't know Jeff Stormer, he's a streamer. He's a writer. He's a podcaster. He has a really great podcast called Party of One, where it's just he and one other person, and they play a whole variety of games, mostly focusing on very small independent games. And this is a game that he wrote. It is a hack of, now I can't remember. What is the...
I'm trying to remember as well.
What's the hack? Beyond the Rift. It's a hack of a game called Beyond the Rift. And I'll just read you the quick blurb. A storytelling game about a hero, a villain, and their city. This is an imaginary story, which may never happen, but which then again may, about someone with great power who chose to use that power only for the good of all. It tells of their final triumph, their ultimate showdown with their great and terrible adversary, and of the city that believed in them, and the people they saved, and the people they couldn't. We tell their story and celebrate their successes, knowing they are only a myth. There is no superhero. There is no superpowered hero coming to save us. We have only our city. We have only ourselves. We must be our own heroes. This story is an imaginary story, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah, pretty
That's
pretty good.
great.
Yeah,
I always think when people do, like, I don't know if you've played The Zone or not.
I haven't.
We're playing it tomorrow night. It's another DM-less game, but the person who made it put all of the tools online for free, so you can play it online completely, like all the cards and everything. It's like a writer's room style game, which seems like this might be as well.
Yeah, very much.
And it's another one with the kind of the tagline is like, there are no winners, there's only one survivor. Because the whole thing is
like
your characters who are going into this zone, like Annihilation or like in Roadside Picnic type of situation, where you have to explain, why are you choosing to go in? What are you hoping to find? Is there a reward at the end that you think you're going to get? And why do you not plan on coming back? Because you aren't. It's very interesting.
I dig that.
And so when you send this to me, I was like, oh crap, this sounds very similar to that. And when you were like, it's for 1 to 3 players, I'm fascinated by things like this. So I'm very excited. So
Yeah,
let's I haven't made a character yet. So I have to do vital information, correct?
So let me start with this. Do you have any lines or veils that we need to?
No.
None? Okay.
No, I'm pretty
I don't either.
If I do, I'll jump in private chat and hit you.
Yes, absolutely. Just say, hey, whoa. Hey, whoa. So the game requires 1 to 3 players. We basically, it's a lot of improv. It's a lot of writer's room style, like Ben said. You draw maps, you roll dice, you pull cards from a deck, and you make a living record of the city and its people. So first, honestly, I did a little bit of prep just so that it wasn't completely off the cuff, because I didn't want to sit here and type everything while we were going. I'm going to play the city. Ben will play the hero, and then we will play the villain together. So for the city, you are everyone: ordinary people, extraordinary people, other heroes, other villains, people trying to live their lives, people in danger. You're the city the hero protects. As the city, I draw cards to determine locations. I name the people that live there. I keep a list of the people the hero saves and recite them during the uprising. I roleplay the ordinary people as they interact with the hero, and I help lift up the hero when they're at their lowest so they can continue protecting everyone within their power. How large is the city? I was thinking kind of a major metropolis.
Okay, that works.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it.
I didn't want to go to the whole wide world.
I'm thinking of like an alien pretending to be a human being, kind of Martian Manhunter or Son of Saturn. I'm trying to think of a Marvel character kind of like that. That's like, I'm a strange visitor, but kind of that mod of like, oh, this guy shows up on Earth and like, I've decided to be a human.
Right. Okay. I dig that. So the way that this works is there are 4 major sections to the city. The major sections of this city are Shake's Village, which is kind of, think of it as like the retail entertainment district, full of a diverse population of hipsters, snobs, coffee snobs, mountain bikers, street hippies, punks, drunks, and flunkies. There's Blitzburg State University, which is the brains, the bruisers, the goths, and the losers. It's a house of learning and the burning desire of unbridled college hormones. There is the Meadows, which is the posh part of town, hoity-toity, high-rises and penthouses. The cheapest car is a Mercedes-Benz. The greenest grass is sprayed on weekly. The Halloween candies, all full-size candy bars, and every vegetable is organic. And then the docks. It's the docks. You know the deal. So let's talk about your hero. You say Martian Manhunter style. What's your hero's name?
I decided he goes by the name Neil Clutch, but his real name is Tulik Till. His alter ego is Mr. Ghost. So he actually uses alien magic.
Alien magic.
Yes. Okay. So he uses magic, but it doesn't make any sense to like us at all. And it's not one of those, this is just science we don't understand. This is like straight up magic. So almost like a D&D alien,
Okay.
but all of his spells are all buffs. They're not like he has to like he can't cast like fireball. He doesn't have like any energy rays. He can do things like make himself into beasts or make himself big and strong. Make him so it's almost very similar to Martian Manhunter with like no offensive powers.
Okay.
So and it does take he can't just like do this. It takes him a second to be like, okay, I gotta draw this symbol or use this stone. I haven't figured out what. So I'm in this area that says strong suit. So I would need to pick a suit of cards.
Right. So how do you help your city, right? This is when you determine your strong suit. So clubs, you'll be the shield of the people, protecting them so they can thrive.
Okay.
Think of that like maybe daredevilish.
Okay.
You know. Diamonds, you'll be the icon that they look up to for inspiration, right? So Captain America, Superman kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hearts is you'll be the smiling face, a friend to those who need it. So Spider-Man-ish, that kind of vein.
Small town boy make good.
Right. And then spades, you'll be the dark knight that avenges the injustice they suffer. Draw the parables you need to for that one.
What was the first one again?
Clubs, you'll be the shield of the people, protecting them so they can thrive.
I'll be clubs.
Okay.
I was hoping there would be something that was just like straight up like weirdo trying to figure stuff out. Because I like the idea of like Neil Clutch being someone who's very quiet, does like data processing that's way too easy for him. But he's like, I understand this paper is what constitutes my ability to buy things. This is your commerce.
Okay.
And I would like to live like his apartment. It's like he's like, oh, I have a nice apartment, like to his coworkers, but it's literally got nothing in it. It's like there's dust everywhere because he's like, I don't understand how cabinets work, and I don't need to eat. So like, look at this place. This is a nice apartment because he's never been in someone else's apartment before.
So is there one of those sections of the city that you feel more comfortable in?
I would say is it what's called Blitzburg, right?
Blitzburg State University. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would say there because I would say that Neil doesn't really sleep. He kind of does the whole meditate thing, but he's constantly like reading books on Earth. And to him, it's almost like existing. It's like for us playing D&D. Like, I could pour over lore all day long, but to me, it's just like, look at all this lore. And for him, it's like, look at all this stuff. Boy, Earth had some weird stuff happen. Did it really happen though? Is this real?
Is this real?
Yeah, because he's not sure if it's real or not.
Sure.
I mean, to the point I would say he's not even like an alien in the effect of like being from another planet. He's probably just from like another dimension.
How long has he been here?
I would say a short amount of time.
Okay.
Probably less than a year.
Okay. So still kind of learning the ropes of the world itself and how it operates as an alien.
I would say Mr. Ghost isn't even his first attempt at an identity. But he tried a couple other things. He was like watched some cartoons and was like, are these just reenactments with animation? I was like, well, I'll be like that. And then he was like, ooh, that was a mistake, and
got it.
So he's kind of like workshopped it enough to be like, well, then I'll just wear this like green mask and suit and have this, everyone loves this hood thing. So I'll wear a cape and cowl and look at me. I'm Mr. Ghost.
So would you consider yourself more like how powerful you are, like friendly neighborhood hero or gifted with great power?
I put gifted with great power.
Okay. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Like a bit more in the DC realm of that,
Okay.
Instead of the Marvel kind of like, if Marvel, I would equate it to like someone, it's a higher level X-Men. But for DC, I would say like, one of the not one of the main Trinity or anything like that. Like I said, like
right.
Martian Manhunter, Red
Yeah.
Tornado, Son of Saturn, Gem Son of Saturn, those type of things. So what's
Perfect.
renown and inspiration?
Renown. So let me get there.
No, you're good. Do in whatever order you want. I'm just stoked about all this.
Yes. Renown comes when you save someone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Where did it go? Inspiration. The hero may accrue inspiration as a result of rising above and becoming something greater than themselves.
Ooh.
When this happens, the hero should set aside a token. They can use this token at any time to recover an injury suffered at the hands of the villain, or to force the villain to roll an extra die. So what we do is each player has a role to play, certain activities they'll perform during the game. Rolling dice. When it comes time for the hero to step up and face down a threat, the villain rolls a dice and determines how well they performed under pressure. Whenever that happens, roll as many dice as suggested by the city and take the highest result. Okay. The one exception to this is when, due to external factors blocking the hero's success, such as injuries and the interference of people in power, you would be asked to roll less than one die. If you are asked to roll 0 dice, you'll instead roll 2 dice and take the lowest result. For negative numbers, you'll continue adding dice and taking the lowest result, right? So if it's a -1, then you are rolling 3 dice. If it's a -2, then you're rolling 4 dice, right? So you have less and less advantage to, actually get over in the situation. Mm-hmm. You split the cards. You split the deck of cards in half, which I've already done. And shuffle one of the jokers into the bottom half of the deck. The joker is referred to as Joker 1. The city draws cards as instructed. If at any point a joker is revealed, we go immediately to the relevant section of the text, which is the first joker means the downfall. The second joker is the uprising. If at any point the city runs out of cards, either because they've drawn every card or cards were discarded as a result of collateral damage, advance immediately to a crisis. Yeah. So the map, I think, we'll just probably do as theater of the mind, since I'm in California and you're in Minnesota.
That probably is best.
And the journal, we have a spreadsheet that Ben and I are sharing together. And we just keep a running log of the people that you meet, the challenges you face, allies, enemies, who've you saved, who you've lost. And then if there is a crisis, the hero has to answer some questions. Then the villain has to answer some questions and make some descriptions. And then the city has to answer some questions and make some descriptions. So we'll see if we actually get to a crisis or not.
Have you ever played, Duke, any games such as like The Quiet Year?
Yes.
Okay, this reminds me of that quite a bit, and I'm totally down for it.
Yeah,
I used a variation on The Quiet Year that I made with my players to do a year that passed in our D&D game where they fought a war, because I was like, I don't want to run a war. So we used an adjustment of the quiet year to do the whole year.
That's cool.
And it was very interesting. I listened to them use it on the Adventure Zone, and I was like, this game sounds amazing for their world creation. And
that was for Ethersea, right? Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, so these type of games that are like pure storytelling games, I think are absolutely fascinating. And for those of us who really love like world building and things like that, they're amazing. They're just incredible games. So I'm stoked to see what we come up with.
Yeah, me too. Okay, that's kind of the general gist of it all. Once we get to consequences and contemplation, once we get to the downfall, all of that, we'll kind of go through it from there. Okay. When you draw cards, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 different things that will influence it. Okay. And I'll describe them as we draw through cards. But before we start drawing cards, I want you to tell me, where does Mr. Ghost live? Is it
Uh,
a stately manor, a fortress of solitude, your aunt's house?
he lives in a apartment. He lives on the top floor in a kind of almost like student housing. It's not a great building, so therefore there's not a lot of people that live there, and the people that do tend to like live there for a semester and they, get the fuck out of there. It's not a rat trap, but we've both been to college and we know the places that are like this.
Yes, sir.
And so he lives on this, it's like probably like a 4 or 5 story building, and he lives on the top floor of it, giving him easy roof access. And he works data processing. And he's, like I said, exceptionally good at it. And when he has to like leave because of an emergency or anything, he can just magic away his work as far as make sure it's done so he can leave. So he's
okay.
His work is like, oh shit, Neil, you're really good at your job. And he's like, yes. I'm like, have you ever thought about a leadership role? And he says, no. You've never thought about it? No, I have not, nor do I want to.
Right.
This is the perfect job for me. This job is excellent. I enjoy all of it very much.
Love it.
So he makes just enough money to pay his bills. Like I said, his apartment's empty. There is not even a bed. There's nothing there. It's just where he basically he watches everything he can. He goes to the library, public library a lot. He reads constantly. The internet is confounding for him because he's like, this technology is hard for me to completely wrap my head around.
Even though he's a data processor.
The number part of it makes sense to him. But like the internet and its constant changing and like social media and stuff like that, he wants no part of.
Okay.
To him, that is just like very complicated things where even as like, it was one of the things that got first, it was almost like people watching digitally. He was like, oh, this is fascinating. The longer he did it, the more he was like, this is not fascinating. This is not, I don't want, no, this feels gross.
Okay.
I do not like this feeling this is making me have. So he has stopped doing that. He does enjoy movies, but he also is in a book club where he is the only male in this book club, and he is just happy to be there.
In a book club. Okay. Yes. All right. I dig it.
And he audits classes.
And he also audits classes at the university?
Yes, just random ass classes. He's like, oh, geography or geology 101 has an opening for audits. I will attend this class. But he like never misses. He's one of those people that's overly punctual and everything. Okay. He also does his work just good enough to like B level. He's like, I could probably do better than this, but I don't want to give people suspicions. The reality is he probably couldn't do better than a B. Because nuances are not Neil's strong point.
Sure. How long has he been speaking English? And
probably
not long enough.
Yeah, his English is almost kind of stilted. Like slang means nothing to him.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Like if you said cool, he would go, is it?
How cool?
Yes.
Would you say it's almost freezing?
I do not feel the breeze.
Okay.
All right. You mean it was excellent. Superb even.
Superb even. So I have assigned, so you chose diamonds for you chose clubs for Blitzburg State University. So for the Meadows, which is the hoity-toity, high rises and penthouses, I chose diamonds as that suit. For the docks, I chose spades. And for Shake's Village, I chose hearts. So what that means is that when we go to draw cards, whatever suit, that's what part of town you will end up in. And then the number or the face on the card will determine what kind of a scene it is that we will have. So
I also was thinking too, like when we come to some of these things, I think some of the reason he has trouble with them is because, like I said, he's from another dimension. I think he might think he's dreaming all this. Like he's not even sure all this is real.
Got it.
So
he's the oh God, what was her name? Did you ever watch The Good Place?
I have not watched that yet. It's on my list. People talk about it all the time.
Dude.
Very good. Yeah.
Simone is the character. And there's I don't need to spoil it, but
it's worth watching though.
It's so worth watching. I've probably watched it through 7 or 8 times. The payoff is exquisite. It's superb. Even
excellent. My wife has been like, we should watch this, and I'm like, okay,
she's right. You should. You really should. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the first card.
Perfect.
We have the 8 of clubs.
Ooh.
So when a card value is between 2 and 10, that location is somewhere in imminent danger. So we have an 8. So the clubs refers back to Blitzburg State University. And here the hero comes face to face when you're in somewhere in imminent danger with something that threatens the city, whether physically, emotionally, or anywhere in between. When you arrive here, perform the following. The city describes the scene to the hero. This place is in danger, but it wasn't always in danger. Where is it? Has the hero been here before? Yes, he has. This is actually his strong suit. Since it is your strong suit, that means it's an exact match. You're in your element. This is your neighborhood. These are your...
Oh no, you froze. Oh no, come back. No. Oh gosh, please. Oh, I hate the cliffhanger of this. Now I know why everyone hates me when I run. I don't know how long Duke's gonna be frozen. I don't know what happened. Am I frozen? I don't think I'm frozen. I hope not. I'm going to go in the private chat and say, you are frozen. Poop. Well, we'll see how quickly Duke can come back. Again, I'm stoked about this game. It's very interesting to me. I'm getting to play it with someone that I dearly miss, who is a very important part of my life from when I was a kid and going forward. So, I'm back. All right, cool. I literally freaked out when you froze. I was like,
I heard you screaming, and I was like, I'm here. I promise I'm here. But then it's probably my internet. I live way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm on Starlink, and it's not always super.
It was such a good cliffhanger of like, and I was like, no, don't, I need to know. I know everyone hates me because I love cliffhangers.
So, did you hear that? Since it's clubs, it's your strong suit.
Yep.
So it's somewhere in imminent danger. You're in your element. This is your neighborhood. These are your people. You've got this. So the villain has 3 dice.
Okay.
So for the villain, now the villain basically rolls, well, okay. So the threat resurfaces in a new context in the new part of the city. If not, introduce a new threat and associate it with the number drawn. Then if a card of that number is drawn again, you'll have a threat ready to go. Take the number of dice suggested by the city, subtract 1 die for any active injuries, which you don't have, 1 die for any people in power who are opposing the hero's efforts, which this is your strong suit, so there are none of those in this area, and add 1 die for any points of inspiration, which you don't have. So first time around, we're going to roll 3 dice.
What kind of dice?
D6.
D6. So do you want to roll? I can roll either way.
I got the first roll. I'll give you the second roll. So I got a 5, a 6, and a 2. And since this is your strong suit, we will take the highest die, which is a 6.
Okay.
You push past your limits and become something greater than yourself. How do you inspire the people? Recover 1 injury or take a point of inspiration. After the scene, or through the scene, that will be the result. So we are excuse me, we find you are in your apartment. I think you are reading. What book are you reading? What's your
Um,
interest today?
Today my interest is look where my room really quick. Um, I am reading Campbell's The Power of Myth. We'll say that.
Okay. So you're probably halfway through the story, and you know some you're really really into it. There's an action scene that you're reading through, and there's a pigeon that lands on the windowsill and kind of catches your attention, and it's kind of cooing. You hear him through the window. He's just kind of poking around, draws your attention, and through the window, as your eyes are drawn out to the pigeon, you see something streaking down out of the sky, and it stops and hovers right maybe 100 feet over the street about 2 blocks away from you. It is mirror finish, oblong object. um, it doesn't seem to be making any great sound, but is obviously not from here.
Okay. I believe he would use his powers to change into his Mr. Ghost outfit,
Okay.
which is pretty plain Jane.
I was going to
I'm
say,
thinking
what does it look like?
it's just he's like it's mainly like a ghostly, like almost like a glow in the dark green, and it's just like a faceless mask with just 2 eye holes and then just a hood. It looks like a 1950s superhero costume.
Okay, I
Like
dig
it
it.
just is the most plain Jane, the flared gloves, the flared boots, but there's no emblem. It's like look at
Does he
this thing.
does he have the big shiny belt with like
Yes.
the single color belt buckle around
Yeah.
the front? Yeah.
It's like I would say the other color is probably like a tarnished gold color. So almost, or even like what would be a tarnished copper. So like
Okay.
patined copper, and it just has a well, it has a Pac-Man ghost emblem on it.
On the belt buckle?
Yeah, on the belt buckle.
Okay, perfect. So he totally
Slightly altered to avoid copyright
right. The
Atari.
eyes instead of full circles are triangles.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. Okay, I get it.
Um,
Um, totally, it's like something he found in a thrift store.
yeah, or something he has conjured, but it's like it again. Everything like his power wise just seems off because it's not earthly at all.
Because it's not from
Um,
here.
yeah, it just feels like if you look at it too long and it's like that's not right. What's wrong with that? Why does that make me eventually give me a headache if I look at it too long? Um, so yeah, he will then and I also think like he does when he's out in the world, he does the um whole Black Adam thing where he just doesn't touch the ground. Like
Okay.
he floats constantly because he's like, I'm a ghost.
I'm
He's like his hood and his cape are like, so originally I kind of thought like maybe he went out in like a full like ghost sheet and someone was like, oh, you can't do that. And he was like, what do you mean? And they like showed him a video and he was like, oh no, and transformed it into like the hood and the cape.
okay.
Because he's like, I did not know. I did not know.
Yeah, that's fair. I dig that. So at least he has some kind of cultural awareness, or it listens to people about
Very much.
culturally
Yeah.
sensitive subjects. Okay. So
He's
this
very much
is
just called him. He originally was like, I think I would like my name to be the ambassador. And he captured some petty crooks and they were like, who are you? He's like, I'm the ambassador. And they were like, to what? Oh, I don't know. He couldn't explain it. So they're like, you look like a ghost. He was like, I am Mr. Ghost.
okay. So you get, excuse me. Do you go up to the roof and then just kind of float down?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so.
So as you are floating down out of this, mirrored oblong floating object, you see a pink beam straight out of the middle, and there is someone also lowering to the ground. And as they get about halfway, about 50 feet down, like lightning bolts just start shooting out of this beam off of them in a variety of directions. You have the it hits the fire hydrant and the water is shooting up. It knocks a car over onto another car, and there are car alarms blaring everywhere. People are running through the streets to avoid this. There was a whole crowd of people that came out, and they're pointing fingers, and they're filming it for their Instagrams, and then it just turns into mass chaos as this whatever this thing is coming down out of this beam from this alien spaceship. What do you do?
Mr. Ghost will approach this person. He'll fly there actually faster than he normally does.
Okay.
And he will ask them if they need assistance. Are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need assistance? I have learned the CPR from a work audit. This is what you do when people are potentially in danger, and you are in danger of lightning.
This alien turns and looks at you, cocks his head, and then is going to just blast you with lightning as you approach. I don't need CPR. Ooh, and hit you with a lightning bolt.
So how do we do damage then for something like that?
I think since you are going to push past your limits and become something greater than yourself, I think as this lightning comes at you, you decide what happens next.
Okay, I would assume that Mr. Ghost would just take it full on and then like tumble out of the sky and land on top of a car, like denting the hood, and be like, that was most unpleasant. And then try to, I would say he would probably manipulate the matter of the roof of the car and turn it into like a shield, basically, and then fly around trying to deflect all these lightning bolts back at the person.
Oh, okay. I like that. So, this alien just keeps pushing this lightning in all directions, and Mr. Ghost faster than the lightning itself, getting under it, deflecting it back, getting under it, deflecting it into the building off the side.
Is he still inside like a cone of energy from the ship?
Yes.
Okay. Once the lightning, if it does ever slow down, or if this goes on for too long, Mr. Ghost is just going to fly up above him and use this shield as to block that energy coming.
You block that energy coming, and this alien falls straight to the ground, and immediately you hear the crunch as they hit from 50 feet up. Oh my God! Why would you do that?
Do you now need CPR? I am sorry. I do understand how to make a splint.
I could definitely use a splint.
He will fly down and make a splint. You have destroyed much property. I believe this is when you are under arrest. And he's almost like he turns around and is like, yes. Like he's learned this whole thing from cop shows. And he's just like, he's seen too many of what's the show where the guy says the pithy line and puts the shades on or takes them off. It's like NCIS or something like that. Yeah. But he feels like he just nailed that same line. He's like, you are now under arrest. Yes.
So do you think, I mean, I know that I've described some of it. I think that some collateral damage has come out of this, right?
Yes. As soon as he gives him a splint and then is just going to use some of that material and form it into like makeshift manacles or whatever, not so far as like bend a girder around him, but something like that. Okay. Then Mr. Ghost will go until he literally has no more juice left to fix all the things that were broken and make sure people are safe.
So since there's collateral damage, what we do is we discard a card off the top of the deck. And would you say that you successfully saved someone? Do you feel like that's something that happened in this scene?
I would say that there's not a whole lot of people to be saved. I kind of look at this as like an inept rampage, if you will.
Yeah.
So nothing but property really got damaged.
Okay.
So it looks way worse on TV than it actually was. It's one of those things where people are like, yeah, I mean, he saved a car, but like, or I saw him save a dog or a cat in a tree, but like no one was any real danger. This felt like just almost like we were on the set of a movie. Like this felt like everyone walked into a movie fight.
Right.
It was just really inept across the board.
And you know what I mean? I don't think there was a lot of explanation. I don't think, I mean, and I think that I don't think we even named the city. We'll just call it the city. It's just easier that way.
Yes.
I think that this is not an uncommon, I mean, this is a superhero city. There's all kinds of weird, wild shit that happens here. Often. You aren't the only hero. This isn't the only bad thing that's happened or weird thing that's happened. I mean, there's a guy named Mr. Ghost who's from another dimension that runs around town.
Yeah.
So how do you inspire the people? What is it that you have done, or how do you feel you inspired, the people of the city?
I would say it's like almost the cleanup effect of him like going and using magical effects. Like he takes the car hood back down and like magics it back together. And he was like, oh, this thing was broken. Let me fix it.
Okay.
And that type of magic he can do as well. He just can't do like offensive magic. But this requires a lot more energy. And eventually he's just like, okay, I got to have enough to fly home.
Okay.
Right? Because I need to meditate because now I'm exhausted. But he feels like he's supposed to do this. So he does it until he literally can't. So a lot of like rushing around and putting things back together.
Okay. And I don't necessarily think that you see it, because you said that the internet confounds you and social media makes no sense and you want no part of it. But I think that there's a swell throughout the city of, of social media posts of the people that were in the area that, watched you, not only defeat this threat, but then go around and use your powers to correct the damage. And you aren't one of those heroes that just comes in and leaves a bunch of collateral damage around. You actually took the time to make sure that people were okay, and put the cars back together, put the building back together, all that kind of stuff.
I get an impression too, there's a lot of him like going like, are you okay? Are you well? Are you
Do
safe?
you need CPR?
Do you need CPR? Should I call a physician? Law enforcement will be here soon.
I love it. Okay. Let's draw another card. Sweet. And continue the story.
I'm actually going to change his name from Neil to Hess. Hess Clutch.
From Neil to Hess. All right, Hess. Hess Clutch.
I have a friend,
Mr. Ghost,
who has recently changed their name to Hess, and I'm like, oh, that's such a cool name. And actually, the ghost thing comes from them. We were having a conversation about ghosts this morning.
So we have drawn the Three of Hearts. Okay. The Three of Hearts puts us in Shakes Village, which is the retail entertainment district, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. And what is it that you're? I think you do your recovery, and maybe after you do your meditation, what would take you to Shakes Village?
While he loves like performance, it's very awkward because he doesn't understand like when to clap and everything like that. He loves plays. So, but what he really has a fondness for is cinema. So he has purchased, there's one thing his job is very good for, is he has the money to purchase these like all day movie passes. So he will go to a theater when it opens, and he will not leave until it closes. And he'll watch it, even if he's seen the movies before. He will watch them.
Nice. Okay, so you are coming out of Shrek 7, and you're stepping outside to get a little bit of sunlight, and on the road in front of you, you hear a scream, and a woman jumps off of the sidewalk and into the street because a runaway city bus is just crashing its way down the sidewalk, blasting cars, blasting mailboxes, blasting trash cans, and parking meters. So people are screaming, running, and this runaway bus is just crashing through the sidewalk on opposite street, and makes its way past you. What do you do?
Is there anywhere for him to effectively change, which is just like a magic thing, but or is this just too out in the open for that?
You could probably duck behind a car in the parking lot if you wanted to. I think, or slip into the back seat of somebody's car and then change and slip out the other side. I'm sure there are enough cars that leave their doors unlocked that you could do that.
He'll just kind of go between two cars, cast his spell, and then he will make himself large and stop.
Okay, I dig it.
Stop the bus.
So roll 3d6 for me, please, okay, and tell me.
654.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We had a 3 of hearts.
Yes.
I was thinking this was an exact match. This is no match. So you're out of your element. Maybe these people don't trust you. Maybe you've never been to this part of the city before. Good luck. Tell the villain to take 1 die. So just roll 1 die for me.
Okay. 5.
5. Okay. You rise to the occasion and manage to save the day. What great moment of heroism do you achieve?
I think it's like, he comes out between these two cars, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then just palms the bus.
Just one hand straight in the front.
Yeah, and like picks it up and looks at it Godzilla, King Kong style, like what's in there. And then like takes the front tires and the back tires off very gently with his other hand, putting it back so it has no tires.
Okay.
And then like goes about in this giant form, like he hasn't quite figured out like, oh, I should shrink back down. He's putting everything back together like it's someone's toy train set.
Yeah.
Before
you're rebuilding the mega blocks that that the toddler just kicked over.
And it takes about 20 minutes before he's like, oh, I should shrink and do this. This would be way more effective.
Well, and I think that endears you to the people, around you. Again, this is one more time that you have shown your compassion for not only the people but the city itself. I think it's one more notch in the hat for you.
I think too it's like this idea of, because maybe the magic from where he's from is very meticulous in nature.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like, oh, I have to constantly put things back. I have to, not like to an OCD or movie OCD level, but like to a if I don't, it throws things off to her. Maybe my magic won't work. Like maybe like kind of in the, like almost like the magic from his world is maybe built around order.
Okay.
So chaos is very hard for him to understand. And it's like almost like a fear that, oh, if things are chaotic, then maybe this won't work anymore. Or maybe I'll wake up, or whatever it is could go wrong.
Okay. I dig it. I like that a lot. So you stop the bus. Are you going back to the movie theater? Where is it that you think you go from here?
I would assume that by the time he's done fixing everything with his magic, he once again is like exhausted himself. And he does take a bus back to his apartment. Too tired to fly. So he's just like, I will take bus back to apartment.
Okay.
And he takes a bus back to his apartment. He's just like, wow, that was a wonderful day of movie and of adventure. hooray for my beautiful city that I now live.
Hooray for your beautiful city. I dig it. Okay. So you get back home. You're safe. You've saved the day once again. Mr. Ghost, Hess, as some know him, Mr. Ghost, as everyone, all that, as they know him as the hero, just continues to gain the love and respect of the city.
He has to hurry up though, because he knows he has book club soon, so he has to read. I'm sorry, I'm looking this up really fast. He must finish Daniel Steele's Only the Brave before the end of the week.
Okay.
He doesn't fully understand what's going
it's
on.
A book club of smut.
No, it's a rotating. People get to choose the book.
Okay.
And this was another person in the group's choice, and he just likes to read. He doesn't always understand everything he's reading, and some of it he feels like, I do not like this, or I do not understand this. But he also is like, this is as close to a social group as he has, so he's very willing to adapt.
Okay.
He makes himself look different when he's there, like he dresses slightly different. He listens. He's very, very attentive. He is less likely to just jump up and leave because of an emergency at book club, because he's also like, to him in his mind, this is the best cover, is these people I see once every 10 days. So other people will know, oh, Hess Clutch, he is in that book club. He has this data processing job. He cannot possibly be Mr. Ghost, which is the dumbest thing. It was to me is what someone who does not understand human beings would think.
I dig it. Okay. So we will draw the next card.
Perfect.
And it actually fits in really well. This is the Ace of Diamonds. The ace is somewhere private.
Okay.
Diamonds means that we are going to the Meadows, which is the high-rises, hoity-toity part of town. And when you go somewhere private, perhaps this is a quiet meeting in a secluded city park. Perhaps this is an empty parking garage where you've agreed to meet under the cover of nightfall. Here, the hero meets someone with inside information on people in power and gets an inside look at what makes them tick. This hero is where you learn how you can win. This is where you learn how you can stop them. So
my thought on this, please feel free to nix or change. This is book club.
Absolutely, 100%. This is book club. This is 100% book club.
Yeah,
yes, that's why I said it was perfect that this one came out.
And Andrea Davis, who chose the Danielle Steele book, is also talking constantly about her husband, who is a city councilman.
Okay.
This is where she lives, so we're holding it here at her high-rise apartment building, her fancy big wheel place, whatever that means. So he is very much just like, oh, city councilman. That is like your husband is a big wig. He is
yes,
a mover.
As a matter of fact, he is.
He is a mover and a shaker.
You could say that about him, certainly. What is Drea Davis's husband's name? I put it down as Doug.
Doug Davis is amazing. I love alliteration.
Doug Davis.
Doug Davis, working for you.
What's that?
Doug Davis, working for you. And he does that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Working for you. I gotta put that down. Yeah. Working for you.
I have seen your husband on the television. He is working for you.
So I gotta expand that a little bit. In this moment, in this conversation, we haven't really talked about the villain, right?
No, we haven't. I don't think we've really mentioned the villain at all.
Yeah, who Mr. Ghost's arch nemesis is.
I don't know if he even knows he has one.
Okay, I think that's fair.
I don't think he's done enough to like piss somebody off or to like do anything. Like, I think that if it's an arch enemy, I think it's someone who's just like probably has a significant reason to just be like, either you're in the way, or like the Luther thing where it's like, you can do all this stuff. Why do people love you when I can do all this stuff and I'm one of them? You are obviously not one of us. Type of situation where it's almost like I'm imposing my anger upon you. You haven't actually done anything to make me angry. I'm angry at the idea of you.
Okay, so does Drea just know you as Hess?
Yes.
Okay.
She knows me as the weird guy in her book club who she thinks might be disabled. That the other people invited without consulting her, but that is very complimentary. And it's when he is asked to bring snacks, he always brings excellent snacks to everyone's taste. Like, he actually will ask everybody, like, what would you like? It was my turn to bring snacks. What would you enjoy? She thinks he might be, like I said, might be disabled, or he might just be foreign. She's not sure, nor really does she care.
So
he's just different.
I think you show up. I think she probably lives in the penthouse of, one of the high rises downtown. And I think you're the first one there. She greets you at the door. Oh, Hess.
Hello.
How lovely to see you.
Hello, Drea Davis. It is good to see you as well. Am I the first one who has arrived?
Yes, welcome. Please come in.
I can wait in the lobby if it would be more comfortable for you.
No. Why? Do you think that I'm uncomfortable with you?
No, I do not like to be the first here. It is not my preferred interactions.
Oh, Hess, don't worry about that. Come on in. Let's get you something to eat.
Thank you, but I have consumed food on the way here. I don't want to be a bother, but I have brought snacks.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's go add your snacks. What you usually bring the most interesting snacks along with you. What did you bring this time around?
A spicy cheesecake. That's like, it's like a cheesecake, but it has like almost like a
it's got like chili.
Jelly.
It's got like chili crunch.
Yeah, like a habanero jelly on top.
Yeah.
Like a habanero and peach jelly. But it's like very, very well done because, again, it's like a recipe. And since he's like, oh, this makes sense to me.
Math makes sense to you.
And he's been one of the classes he's been taking is a cooking class. So he has brought it directly from class.
Auditing a cooking class at the university at Blitzburg State.
Yeah, he's like, cooking. Fascinating. He tried barbecuing. It did not work well. Why is it my food tastes very poor compared to yours? Other people in the class are like, you don't cook with any like soul. He's just like, I do not understand this concept. This is very frustrating for me.
But he can bake.
He can bake. That's exactly it. Like,
he can bake.
I can cook and I can smoke and I can grill. I cannot fucking bake.
Me neither. I'm terrible at it.
Too much math and too much following orders.
Yep. Give me a pantry. Give me a refrigerator. I will come up with some really great food.
All the leftovers
in the world. Ask me to make you bread. I'm gonna take about 6 or 7 times before I'm comfortable doing it. Yeah. And those 6 or 7 times, it's probably not something most people would want to eat. I would eat it simply because I made it. But
I would be frustrated. Even if it turned out good, I'd be like, this is terrible. I hate it. Same. Why is it bad?
Don't hold me to, specifics.
Yes.
Anyway.
When you say a pinch of this and a pinch of that, what exactly is that? And what is the exact measurements of a pinch?
Yeah. How big's a pinch?
Yeah. My fingers are much larger than yours.
Actually, well, that's a whole, we're getting off. We could talk food for the next hour.
Well, I will
And
tell you what, I have people who are in my chat like all the time, and I'm always threatening to do a this thing called we've been talking James and I've been talking about for like 10 years. We want to do this thing called meet and greet, where it's just us barbecuing and interviewing people. And so the other day I brought up like that I cooked something, and everybody in the chat's like, do you have pictures? Can you show us what you cooked? We threatened this year to do, instead of Spoop Troop, we were going to go Soup Troop, and it was going to be like us all making soup. And then we just were like, we're not doing that. It's too complicated. So I think if you were like wanting to come on and talk about food, the people who show up to my shows would be like, oh, what? I'm sorry. Let me get my notepad. Everyone's always remarkably hungry. So
that's fair. You know, good food. And there's a whole culture around it. You know, I mean, there's so much more, you
can
know,
you think
knowledge and interest and, you know, with what food is about. And we have so much access to so many different styles of food. And, you know, I mean, it's become so popularized because of television and social media and all of those things.
I can remember, can you remember the first food you had at my house? Because I can remember the first food I had someone made at your house.
The first food I had at your house?
Mm-hmm. Like that someone made. Not like, here's some chips.
No. Gosh. I mean, I remember having sit-down meals multiple times with your family.
Yeah, they're weird. They want to feed everybody in the world.
Well, I mean, that's just
no, but that's just like
Midwest hospitality.
Yeah, it's like my grandma. If we were ever over there, it'd be like, you would be like, "Are you done? You can't be done. Here's another plate of food. Are you done?
Right, here's some more food."
Yeah, well, you're right. It's Midwest.
Your dad was like that too.
Yeah, because it was his mom. That's how he was raised.
Yeah.
I can remember, and if I'm wrong, please. I remember the first time I ever had pepitos was at your house.
That's probably true. Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And you were like, this is delicious. And I had it. I was like, this is very delicious.
Yeah, that's true.
How come my family doesn't make this? I believe it was your mom too who did it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That definitely came from mom. Dad.
I can't remember your dad cooking that often.
When dad cooked, dad has like 4 things that he's really good at.
Weren't they like big things too? They were.
Oh, he makes a killer potato soup, like killer. But he can't make, you know, a 3-person portion. It's
yes.
You know,
yep.
even now, you know, dad will make, and my father is 82 at this point. You know, he lives alone, and he will still make this vat of potato soup, but then he, you know, like old men do, he puts it in the little Tupperwares and freezes it. So he's always got like 7 or 12 or 19 of these little, you know, the little disposable Ziploc freezer things full of soup. And when he wants some soup, he just pulls it out of the freezer, and he's real proud of himself, and he warms it up, and, you know, he has his soup. My dad was a hell of a barbecuer too.
I remember, like I said, him cooking, like, I think it was ribs, like,
yep.
It was like racks and racks of ribs.
Yep. Ribs and chicken. My dad is the one who taught me how to spatchcock a chicken. Which, yeah, that's, you know, it's become really popular. And I was just like, no, that's always been a thing, but it wasn't, I guess.
I just remember your dad being very like the perfect yin yang balance of like a very, like I'm trying to figure out like how to say it, like not maybe like a blend of like very meticulous, probably because of his job, but also being very like fly by the seat of the pants of like, hey boys, get in the car, we're gonna go do this thing.
Yeah.
And I always can't remember that. Whereas, you know, I always think of my dad as being like, you know, doing weird stuff like that, but always like, it always being like, but why today and why now? Like, why are we going to Bronson for chicken, Dad? It's
right.
like
yeah.
1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were supposed to do this other thing. Nope, we're going to Bronson. We're getting chicken.
Nope, we're going to Golden Dipped. Let's go.
Yep. We're gonna get like 4 boxes of Suzy Q's and 2 boxes of livers and 2 boxes of gizzards. We eat them all on the way home.
And yeah, and it'll be gone by the time we get back to Iola.
Yeah.
So where Ben and I grew up, it's this weird thing, right? Southeast Kansas was full of coal mines and lead mines and zinc mines, but most of it was coal. And there's this weird culture of fried chicken. Um, the it started in a couple of different places, but it started as wives making fried, pan fried chicken for their husbands, and then it turned into the neighbors wanted it, and then the other neighbors wanted it, and it became these little tiny town restaurants in these small towns, these small mining towns in southeast Kansas. And so outside of Pittsburgh, Kansas, outside of Girard, in Bronson, in Gass, there
Yeah.
are all these, tiny
Columbus.
little and Columbus. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Columbus.
It was
And I
always
mean,
weird too, because my dad would talk about how, like, if you really pay attention, they're all different. They're
yeah, they
all
are.
influenced by whatever, like, it's like Pittsburgh is very Italian, but then
Yes.
Girard, which is like half a block away, is like, I think it's more Polish than anything else.
It's
I
Slavic. Yeah.
Slavic. I can never
It's more
remember, like,
Slavic.
it's been so long since I've lived down there, but he was like, yeah, all these little mining towns are very ethnocentric. So their
Yeah.
food is like, you can go to this place and you're going to get like German fried chicken. But
Yep.
if you go to like Chicken Mary's, it's one thing, but Chicken Annie's across the street is not the same fried chicken.
Not the same fried chicken. And
Yeah.
you can go to Bardo's in Frontenac and it is totally different. It is not the same fried chicken.
Yes. It's such a weird little thing that I like. You're right. It's fascinating because you could drive all over the southeast part of the state, the southeastern part of the state, and never eat the same fried chicken like for a week straight and eat
every recipe is different. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, we would also do the same thing. Dad would be like, "Oh, we're getting chicken tonight,"
Yeah,
and we'd be like,
where?
"Okay, so how far are we driving to get chicken?
Yeah.
Is this a 10-minute drive from home, or is this an hour and 10-minute drive from home? Where are we landing tonight, Dad?" Yeah. Anyway,
my in-laws, they always say, we're just going to go on an adventure. We're just going to drive around, and they will drive all over their part of the state for hours. But it usually involves at some point getting food, and I'm just like, it's super funny how the area may change, but the parent destination remains the same.
But the behavior does not.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so you're with Drea, and you know that she's attached to Doug, the city councilman, working for you. And I think
how is Councilman Davis, your husband, who is working for you?
He's actually in a bit of a bind right now. He opened an investigation into some illegal trade dealings that were going down at the docks, and I mean, Hess, if I'm being honest,
when do these illegal operations take place? I can see him like not understanding, like, now it's time to be settled. Him just going, when does this occur?
Well, I don't really have all the details. I just know that he's had to have some extra security detail in the last, couple of weeks because of it. And I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but there are some extra people, some extra police officers and such, around the building right now. Because
I wasn't sure if there was a parade that was going to occur soon, so they were on parade duty. I have seen this before.
No, I mean, I guess there that does happen during parades, but
parade duty is extremely important, as I have learned.
He
flashes back to a moment where he like tried to get into a parade, and they pulled him aside and said, "You can't do this." And he's like,
he just wanted to march alongside one of
he
the
was
floats.
just like enthralled by like the marching in order and everything. And like, he was like, "This is amazing." Also, music is math, so just like
he just wanted to march alongside the tubas.
Yeah, he was really down with that, and they were like, "You can't do that, guy on the street." And he was like, "I apologize." Why not? He will inquire as to if there is anything he can do to um, for Councilman Davis. So I may work for Councilman Davis. He even does the thumb thing. Like, yeah, it is like he's seen this for my politicians, so he's doing it back.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I mean, Hess, I don't know what it is that you could necessarily do, but
I am just a humble data entry person who loves books and enjoys the company of other readers. So there may not be much I can do, but I would like to offer my support.
And I think that she kind of looks you up and down, and she says, Hess, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, if you get my drift.
I do not. Just like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
I would never want to out you to anyone else, Hess, but
I do not understand what he's like. I don't understand what this outing is.
What it means is that I don't want to reveal any secrets about you that I may or may not know.
I would tell you, if the secret is about my sexual preferences, this is not something I have shared with anyone. I appreciate the fact that you have an inquiry regarding this, but you are married, and I am.
Do you think that your choice in sexual partners or your desire?
I've only heard out that way. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I just meant, I don't mean it in a sexual way.
Perfect. This is good news for me.
It's also good news for me.
Yeah.
No,
Rhea Davis, what can I do for you?
Well, Doug has been threatened lately, and if there was someone that maybe had some abilities to protect Doug, that's something that you might be able to do for me. And she winks at you as if she knows something.
He steps back and he kind of looks at her, and he will take a moment to kind of like think about movies he's seen and books he's read, and he has the alarming thought that, oh, you know who I am. And he immediately is like, I should leave. I have a thing I must wake up early for in the morning, and I hope you enjoy the cheesecake. I thought the book was interesting. I did not like the ending.
Hess, I also thought the book was interesting, and whether you like the ending or not,
Daniel Steele is an accomplished writer, but her works are not for me.
You know, it's fun and it's interesting, but just remember that there are people out here that are interested in you and interested in making sure that you're doing well. And she gives you another wink as you leave.
He kind of says, thank you. Will you give my regards to the other members of our book club? Then he proceeds to name them all by full name, and apologize for me that I had to attend another matter. I will again bring snacks next time to make up for my poor timing.
Well, if it is, I don't think you had poor timing. If you need to go, that's fine. But please call if you need something. And she hands you a slip of paper with her phone number on it.
He looks at it and he just goes, thank you. And then he
heads out.
He thinks he's moving very, very coolly, but he's like, from an outside perspective, he's somewhat in a panicked manner leaving.
Okay.
He doesn't really understand the panic part of it, but because in his mind, everything moves in a certain way. But like I said, everything is just kind of there's if you're around him long enough, it's like something's not like he just gives off a wrong vibe because he's not from Earth. It's just like slowly but surely you're like, why is time moving differently when you're here? Why did my dog just age 2 years? Type of just weird stuff.
Yeah.
He will leave and he will immediately try to figure out where Councilman Doug Davis is working for you.
Okay. So I think, you know what I mean, with the clues and such that he got, I think it makes sense. And I think it goes along with the next card, which is the 10 of spades. The 10 of spades is also somewhere in imminent danger, and spades takes us to the docks, which, as we know, is where Drea told Hess that some illegal activities were going on. So I think maybe that you're drawn to head in that direction. And as you get, so this will be color only. The people here know you, but you haven't earned their trust yet. You're going to have to work at it today. The villain takes 2 dice. So roll me 2d6.
5 and 5.
5 and 5. Okay. Again, you rise to the occasion and manage to save the day. In this instance, I think you get down there, and as you are starting to explore, there are some fire trucks that come. You hear the sirens, and then they scream on by down the road, and you follow them down, and you can see this big plume of smoke, and there is a large tanker ship out on the water that you can see is there are flames rising, that black putrid smoke of oil burning and paint and noxious gas, as if something terrible is on fire. And you see something that keeps jumping up and out of the water, in and around the boat, and you're not sure if they're helping or harming.
Okay. Hess will become Mr. Ghost, and he will literally just pull in a massive amount of, turning his body into basically a big balloon of water, and then we'll just go spit it onto the ship. Like he turns himself basically into a water zeppelin and then just drops the water onto the ship.
Okay.
And then we'll try to figure out what was bobbing in the water.
So the great moment of heroism you achieve is putting out this fire, potentially saving the lives of some of these firemen that may or may not, or that that don't have to put their lives in danger, as you swoop in and save the day. And from up and out of the water, you see a woman. She's dressed in kind of this flowy blue cape, and not dress necessarily, but like robe. And it's all flowing and floating like water. Her hair is doing the same, even though she's not in water. It seems that as if everything about her, outside of maybe her face and her hands, which are kind of like the only skin uncovered, everything seems to be flowing like water. And you know her as Aqua.
I will go down, and first thing I'll do is I will apologize if I have interfered in her attempt to assist this flaming boat.
Not at all. I'm Aqua.
I have heard of you. You are incredibly popular. My name is Mr. Ghost, and then I will awkwardly offer to shake her hand.
And she absolutely comes up and shakes your hand, and surprisingly, her hand is dry, even though you assumed it would be wet. Hey, I do know you, Mr. Ghost. You just stopped that alien in at Blitzburg just a few hours back. That was you. I saw it. I saw it on Instagram. That was impressive.
I believe that might have been a miscommunication on my part, but he did not need assistance, so I stopped him from hurting the people of our fine city. Unfortunately, I had to resort to violent means to do so. I would prefer not to. You had this, and like I almost picture Mr. Ghost, like his entire like even movements are awkward. Like he turns with his whole body when he turns, like his feet are facing
Very
forward.
stiff.
Yeah, very stiff. But he's like trying so hard to move like a person, and he's like, yes, I once again apologize. You had this under control, and I have stepped on your toes.
No, not at all. What you did was absolutely amazing. You should. You don't need to apologize for anything. Thank you so much for the assistance.
Aqua, do you perhaps work around this area, these docks?
Yes, actually, my secret location is actually not far from here.
Oh, I have an inquiry to make to you.
Yes.
Do you know Councilman Doug Davis? He works for you.
Yes, I'm familiar with Councilman Davis.
I have heard that Councilman Davis might be in grave danger while working for you.
Well, he doesn't work for me. He's an employee of the city.
Councilman Doug Davis works for all of us. He has said so when he tells us, "I work for you."
Yes, his campaign slogan. Yes. So that do you understand what a campaign slogan is?
These are words that are used to ensure the support of the populace.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Yes.
Councilman Doug Davis works for us.
Yes, in a lot of ways, that's true. Sorry, I thought you were taking it very literally, as in, as if he was.
When he answers that, it's almost like he does have to like push his thought process. Like, what does that really mean?
What does that mean?
And he also is like, he believes in Councilman Doug Davis because he's in a book club with his wife. So she probably isn't lying to him. And I would imagine he's met Councilman Doug Davis. He works for you at least once or twice. And has been like, oh, I have seen you on on the television and you work for me. And so he like is like, oh, you're trying to help the civilian populace just like I am. So
it's true. I am very much trying to help the populace and be a hero, not unlike what Doug Davis is doing. So you say that he's in danger.
This is what I have found out through stealth and surveillance. These are skills that I possess. Perhaps we should do what I have read about. This is called the team up.
The team up.
The team up.
Oh, interesting.
The team up is where two individuals who share goals and have abilities come together as a team to stop nefarious deeds or in other ways support the citizenry.
I don't really have a lot going on today, so
I can just picture her like listening to this and pulling out her fucking phone and flipping through her calendar going, okay, bud.
Yeah.
I dropped
no, I'm not scheduled for anything until 9 a.m. tomorrow. We could team up today if you want to.
We could team up today, I guess.
If that, if that floats your boat.
He's like, I feel like I would need the assistance of a seasoned superhero such as yourself in order to save Councilman Doug Davis. He works for you.
I mean, I am a fan of his, and if he's in trouble, I would happily help you try to figure out what that trouble is.
The surveillance I have found out is that he was in trouble here at the docks.
He was in trouble here at the docks.
There are people that have threatened Councilman Doug Davis, which has led to an increased police presence.
Like a parade.
Yes. Like he actually breaks for a moment. He's like, yes, like a parade. Like he's so excited that someone else thought that. Like a parade.
I think the two of them, I think Aqua very quickly becomes a confidant of I mean, in the game mechanics of Mr. Ghost, of Hess. And
you are very, very wise. Well, is she like a teen hero too? Like late teens, early 20s?
Totally. Okay. Yeah. She's
I kind of was like thinking like she's like maybe graduated from Sidekick.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I like that. Yeah.
So she's like on her own, and she's like, so are there a bunch of you who act this way that are fundamentally broken?
I think she's probably.
I just know my guy, so
I think she's probably fresh enough that she's not too concerned that he's a little weird, but she's experienced enough to know that he's someone that she will need to make sure that she over explains everything to.
I would assume because she's been a sidekick that she would also go, you're not from around here at all. Like you're not a human being.
Right.
Yes. You're not even, I'm guessing you're not from this planet. So
you seem very alien.
He's also like, do I? Like, he's like, oh no. I thought I was, he literally is like, oh no, I thought I was doing so well.
But I thought I'm not alien. I'm from the city.
He immediately though doesn't want to lie about like, he's instead just like, we are both superheroes. We are on a team up. I will be honest with you. Like, I
dig it.
Do I seem alien?
Well, in some ways, yes. At least foreign. As if you struggle to understand some of the complexities and the nuance of the language as it's spoken and written. You seem it's very endearing.
He is now like sitting cross-legged in the air floating as they're having this conversation. And he's just like, while the ship is being put out, they're like just right by the ship. And he's like, what are at least 5 ways that I could better assimilate? I am struggling, I think, with this, and I do not wish for people to find out what I have found out is colloquially known as a secret identity, which I do not have. Like he's like,
but I don't have one of those. But how would someone go about protecting that if they had one? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Ghost. It's questions like that tend to, expose you in certain ways. I think you are brutally honest. I think you are extremely literal.
And say brutally honest, he hangs his head and he says, I have lacked truth in my explanation. I did not gain this information through subterfuge and stealth. This information was blurted out to me by someone who in my civilian identity, secret identity.
Right. So you do have a secret identity.
I do.
Yeah.
He's like disappointed that he's like, how did I not pull this off?
Let me give you a hint. So do I. I don't look like this all the time. I don't act like this all the time.
How do you do this? He's like, I want to say like the eye holes on his mask are very like 90s Spider-Man they just like are super emotive, even though there's no
Okay.
reason for them to
Right.
actually be that emotive.
But simply because,
They're drawn that
and
way.
well, not only are they drawn that way, but I think since he controls the costume itself and he has,
I think he literally
he's
just like
he's been
he
exposed to
becomes the
so much
costume.
animation,
Yes.
I mean, that's just how he has decided that this is how superhero masks work.
Yes. Also, I kind of think like almost maybe the costume's less of a costume, but just a different manifestation of him. So like it is
Okay.
just his expressions,
Okay.
just
Yeah, I like that.
just exaggerated.
So it's not that he had, that this alien sorcery puts on a glamour of any sort. He literally becomes the costume,
So that's too.
right?
I was thinking, yeah, like what if like what he really is just like a bag of protoplasm with tentacles on. So he's literally just everything is him trying to be what he sees around him.
Uh-huh. I think that makes perfect sense. I like that. And it tracks with, the idea that he's trying to assimilate and figure out, what makes sense in this new world, this new dimension that he's a part of.
He says, he looks at her and says, "Since we are going to be teaming up, I would like to consider you a work colleague. Would that be acceptable? Maybe
Yes.
making our team up more of a permanent team up, where if you have certain things that you need assistance with, you would be able to reach me and I would come to assist you. Uh, we would be forming a team of 2 equal individuals."
I'll take that into consideration.
He says, "Thank you. I am happy to be considered." He just doesn't know how to take this at all. He's like, "I appreciate your consideration."
It's as this conversation is going on, she turns her head very, very quickly, and I cheated a little bit to see what the next scene would be. It's the King of Clubs, and what the King of Clubs,
Enemies.
what the King is it takes us to somewhere protected, right? And these are places in this city that ordinary people will never go, places far removed from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. These are the halls of the rich and powerful, those with the money and influence to change the world, and who choose not to. These people are not your friend, hero. Here, the hero is confronted by someone in a position of power, someone cold and corrupt, but untouchable, at least for now. This person will do everything they can to interfere in the hero's plans and hold them back from helping people in need until the hero can find a way to stop them. When you arrive here, perform the following, then draw a new card. So the villain, using the suit of the card drawn, describe the person who lives here, what corrupt deed they've done to attract the hero's attention, and why the hero cannot stop them yet. The city describes the person's place of power. The hero makes note of the person's name and what they've done to the city. Remember them, they will continue to impede your efforts. And then enemies represent long-term antagonists who repeatedly oppose the hero's efforts to help the city. So since it's clubs, it's someone with powerful political connections.
Would they be in the Plattsburgh neighborhood then? Because it's clubs?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is someone with powerful political connections. I think that Aqua, as this story is going on, and the talk of Doug Davis and, those sorts of things, and she, there's a light that goes off for her. And I did hear a story, a couple of weeks ago. There was a pretty big bust here at the docks. I wasn't involved. I remember reading about it, But
You enjoy reading.
I do. Do you enjoy reading?
I very much enjoy reading. It is my favorite thing.
Well, maybe we should start a book club.
He looks around. He's like, I am in a book club.
Oh, well, maybe I should join your book club.
I will ask the other members if I can invite a
new friend
to the book club. He's like very much like, oh my God, this is happening. I have made a friend.
So I think with this, she's trying to, come up with ideas as to how she can help you track down some of this lead. And she says, maybe our best bet is to talk to the district attorney. Maybe he knows more about this.
Okay. What do I know about the district attorney?
I think that, let's see, what would the district attorney's name be? He's going to be, so this is the king of clubs. Sorry, I'm typing.
Is he the bad guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the DA is definitely going to end up being the bad guy.
I am thinking, I don't know, because I love alliteration. I think it fits kind of the model of what we're doing.
You know what's hilarious? I just typed out Trevor Thompson.
Trevor Thompson is perfect. I was going to go like Reginald Rogers or some shit like that. But I think his bad guy thing is he just was referred to himself as the judge.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
And probably like the thing that pops in my head is like the classic like evil Batman type of thing, where it's just like, oh yeah, these criminals, when they get away with things, I just deal out a sentence afterwards. You may dodge like a sentence, but you do not dodge the sentence.
But you don't dodge the sentence, right? Yes.
Yeah. Like justice will always be done. But I would assume because he's done a lot of this, after time, his sense of justice has become like skewed. It's gone from justice to just us type of thing.
Exactly. I think it's, power corrupts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is. Power corrupts. And I think that he's been elected over and over and over again as the DA. You know what I mean?
Is he he's like an older guy, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a little older, probably early 70s. Most people have expected him, he's the old white guy politician that people are just like, how the fuck does this guy keep getting reelected?
I also, when you say that, my immediate thought is like he's gotten more brutal over time because he's had to. Because it's almost like I can't keep fighting the same guys over and over again because I'm getting older and some of them aren't. So they need to know that like if you fuck around, the finding out portion will be very bad for you.
Very, very bad. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So I think that she takes you and I guess we're going to have to say that like, well, would it even be City Hall? DA doesn't live at City Hall.
No. I mean, you could call like maybe there's like a county building. Maybe the city's the seat, and there's some large county building.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll say, well, I mean, we could even say that it's, it's just the district attorney's office.
Yeah.
We'll say that
it could even be attached to like like the city jail or even the county jail.
Okay. We'll say that the city jail, that
courthouse.
Yeah, it's a courthouse. There are the city jail is also there. The DA's office is all there. It's it's very much a government complex, very imposing. Very brutalist in its architecture.
Big statue of Lady Justice out in front.
Oh, huge statue of Lady
Like
Justice
like
out in
Art
front.
Deco style.
Yes,
And,
ridiculous.
and has like a big sword, just like a cloud strife sword in one hand and like the
Yes,
scales in the other.
imposing. Yes, over the top. It's he has updated this statue every once a decade since he's been in power. For the last 40 years that he's been the district attorney here in the city. And somehow keeps getting more and more money funneled into this compound, into the courthouse and the city jail and the
Do we figure out
offices.
where is the city? Is it like a landlocked area, Midwest? Because I'm also trying to think of a name for our city at the same time.
I kind of pictured it, on maybe it's Chicago-ish,
Okay.
it's water access, there's shipping, it's a lively city. It's pretty big metropolis, lots of suburbs. That's kind of what I was thinking. Chicago-ish.
Okay. Just trying to think of it. My brain immediately went to like DC cities, like Hub City and Gateway City and
Sure.
all those places. So yeah, I something might pop in my head as we go along.
So I think Aqua takes you by the hand and you guys rush off to go to see if you can find out more information about the threat to Doug Davis, who works for you, City Councilman Doug Davis, who works for you.
He does work for us.
He does work for us, and we get to the excuse me, we get to the city building. Are we close to time, or are we running for another hour?
We run till 1, I believe, because I
Okay.
think that's when Spook Troop happens. Let me pull up my thing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't running out of time because we haven't even gotten to a Joker yet.
Spook Troop is at 1.
Okay, so we've got another hour.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, I got Mang in the morning at 8 too. Sweet.
5
hours sleep.
It's gonna be a short night.
Yeah, my meds generally don't do well with that.
Oh no. Do you need me to get up early?
No. We're just doing so Mang is a thing we do where we just work on Colin generally works on Legos and sometimes I paint minis, but or I work on customizing action figures. So
right, yeah.
So
I've seen them. They're fucking gorgeous.
I don't have an idea what I'm going to do tomorrow, but sure. I just realized I was like, oh yeah, we're doing that thing at 8 a.m. Shit. All right, yeah. I don't know. It'll be good. It'll be good. I will load up on caffeine and I'll be the biggest spaz in the world.
Yeah, it's good. It's a long weekend, but so worth it.
I took Monday off. Like I'm supposed to. They were like, "Hey, do you want to start on Monday?" And I was like, "I told you I couldn't." And they were like, "What do you mean?" Look at that charity thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
right."
Yeah,
you're like, going to be up for 72 hours straight. Okay.
So they were super cool to be like, "No, start Tuesday. God, start Tuesday."
So I think that the two of you get
Sanctuary City.
Sanctuary City. I dig it.
Now I'm like realizing that that's a political term, but I'm like,
yeah. I would rather you use those types of political terms than some of the others instead of things like shithole. Anyway, fuck that guy.
Don't let me get started. Because I will.
That guy. Yeah, what a piece of shit. The
shocking thing is there's just so many of them.
Yeah, also true.
There's so many of them. Why can't there be less?
Oh, do you want to go off on a rant for an hour? We could.
I think all I'll say is I don't know how you remember our childhoods, but I remember at an early age realizing, and maybe it's because of my parents, but realizing like, wow, I'm not big on Republicans. And I remember getting conned into doing door knocking for, oh God, who was the governor at that time?
When we were kids?
Yeah. shit, I can't remember who he was now.
I can't remember his name
He
either.
was a relatively famous politician too. I think he
Yeah.
was also like in the Senate for a while. But and my
Jerry
dad,
Moran is the only name that comes to mind, but that's not him.
my dad going like, why did you do this? And I'm like, well, because so and so said we, you know, we got candy at the end of it and stuff, and him being like, yeah, no, we're not doing that shit again. But I also remember it being like relatively sane conservatives compared to now, and part of me was always like,
John Carlin.
yes,
Yeah,
I can remember like there used to be the ability to have a conversation about things. And I can remember my parents going to stuff and my dad getting into heated arguments with people. But at the same time, it also being like reasonable, like slap on the back, you know, joke at the end type of thing.
mm-hmm.
And I know now that's not how the world works. Like there's people you and I knew that we grew up with who I've been like, hey, I love you, but I can't talk to you anymore.
But we can't talk.
No, because I cannot handle this. Like, because me hearing what you're saying or posting makes me hate you.
Right. My father, you know, my dad, lifelong Republican, mostly a fiscal Republican more than anything else, but lifelong Republican. And my dad hasn't voted Republican in 12 years. He's tired of obstructionists. He's tired of the religious, you know, takeover. And my dad, you know, isn't really a very religious person.
Well, I always found this interesting when we were, well, especially when we got a little bit older. There was like two camps of the right in Kansas, at least in our area of Kansas. There were the religious right, and then there were the fiscal conservative right, who are more just like, I believe in a certain way business should be handled. And a lot of it was like because I would like lower taxes.
Correct.
And I have always thought, like, how did the religious right all of a sudden get their foot on the neck of the fiscal right? Like, I just don't understand that at all.
Reagan.
Yeah. I can
Reagan.
literally remember people that we grew up with, like, having like, and this is like when we were early in high school, like having like my stuff making fun of Michael Dukakis, like on that tank.
Yeah.
And just being like, where are you getting this shit? And it would be like, oh, well, my parents. And I'd be like, oh, well, you know, if I did that shit, my dad would have been like, get the fuck out of here. just fucking get the fuck out of here. Like, do you even know what you're holding in your hand? Do you understand what propaganda is? I will not have my children be pushing propaganda.
Around Iola, Kansas. Thank you.
I mean, it's the wildest shit. Like, and the whole thing that David Tolan went through.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was appalled.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even my state.
The craziest part about that is I am 2 degrees of separation away from the woman who led that attack on him. It is my stepmother's ex-husband's wife who led that attack on him. Virginia is a fucking nut job. And it was so sad to watch. I even sent David a couple messages at some point, you know, during and not, I can't say after. I mean, he's still being attacked.
Yeah.
Not
during,
I just sent him not quite as brutally as he was, but
I just sent him the same thing, like saying like, you may not even remember me, which is funny because we live like 2 blocks apart.
Right.
But it was like, just keep up the good fight, man. Like,
yep. Just keep doing what you're doing, man.
He's like, I remember you. And I was like, well, you know, hey, all power to you. You're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing.
If
If
they don't see that, then they don't deserve the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's trying to create good things for the people in a horribly economically depressed area of Southeast Kansas. Wow. And they just it's gross.
That's why I'm shocked when I see like Humboldt, and I'm like, when did Humboldt become this fucking amazing place?
Right.
Like that little town has like turned into this fucking amazing place.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I told my mom, I was like, if I had to move back, I would move to Humboldt.
Yeah. I wouldn't go to Chanute, but I would definitely go to Humboldt.
Yeah, I would live in Humboldt.
Yeah.
That has been Kansas Talk with me and my co-host, two people who lived there.
Two people who live there and still know some people there.
Yeah, two people who escaped the gravitational pull.
Yeah. It's still trying to pull me back.
When my sister moved back, she moved to Lawrence because she was like, I'm close enough that I can see mom whenever I want and my nephew whenever I want, but I don't have to fucking live in Iola.
But you don't have to live in Iola. Yeah. My sister and I've had that same discussion.
Yeah. And when she moved, she told the company she was working for in San Francisco, she was like, I'm moving back to Kansas. And they were like, okay. She was like, I'm giving you like 3 months notice. They were like, okay, thanks. And then they were like, what would you think about working remotely? She's like, I'll think about it. And then they were like, well, you would have to take a massive pay cut. And she said, nah, I'm not interested. Another month went by, and they were like, what would you think about working remotely with a less pay cut? And she was like, I'm not interested. She ended up moving back at the same wage.
Good
and
for her.
They fly her ass back out to San Francisco like every month.
Good for her.
And she works at the weirdest job ever. I was like, how did you get so high up in your job? And
what does she do?
I don't even know for sure. I know it's like something to do with insurance. Okay. But she's like, you want to know the real reason I got was twofold. Number one, I went to a review and I was tired of getting passed over for jobs. So during my review, I pulled out a porcelain rooster and set it on the table. And they said, what's that? And she's like, well, now that I've shown you mine, maybe I won't get passed over for a promotion again. And they thought that was the fucking greatest shit ever. They literally had her do that same speech like 4 levels up until she was giving it to the owner.
I love it.
And the owner was like, so the owner and her started talking, and then they both have a love for rap. So then all of a sudden she was burning rap CDs for him, and he was like letting her stay in his house in Lake Tahoe. And she was like, yeah, I started getting promotions. Okay. I started getting promotions because all of a sudden people are like, yeah, you do really good work. And it went from like a boys club thing to all of a sudden I was passing those people that had passed me who did shit work.
Yeah, she just had that one thing.
Yeah, she literally was like, I didn't give a fuck. I got to a point where I was like, what are you going to do? Fire me? Then I'll just move back to Kansas anyway. I just won't have, I won't have to give you 3 months notice.
Right. One of my good friends, he was, he was just a guy. He was working in like medical coding, and he decided he wanted something a little bit more. So he went to night school and went to business school and got his, degree in business. And then he went to work for this company that does transportation, right? So it's supply chain.
Yeah.
And he just started as a, guy in a cubicle making phone calls. But he's an amazing performer. I mean, I've been around a bunch of actors and performers in my life, and he is hands down one of the best I have ever been around. And he worked his way up to like, middle management and went to some conference and was supposed to present as part of a group. And it was this huge conference. I don't remember if it was Chicago or DC or where the conference was, but it was this huge conference, thousands and thousands of people. And this presentation was like on the main stage, and everybody else chickened out. And he had to do the whole performance. He had to do the whole presentation. And so he had the center stage, and he just fucking knocked it out of the park. And within 5 years was some senior vice president of some multinational supply chain company making unbelievable amounts of money. I mean, he doesn't work for that company anymore, but he's still in that world, and he hates being in that world. He hates being in a corporate world, but it makes him a bunch of money and lets him have time to do all the fun stuff that he's doing.
People all for my tutor bar for my jobs for I'm sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
No, it's fine. I mean, he does a lot of 48-hour film competitions. He has a group in Jacksonville that he works with.
Cool.
They won last year, and some of the people went to con because they got to present the 48-hour film at con.
Amazing.
Yeah, their film this year is going to Seattle, and if they win at Seattle, they'll get to go to con again.
That's so wild.
Anyway,
I always tell people like I have bad GAD, and they'll be like, well, I mean, but you're okay with publicly presenting, and I'm like, oh yeah, I might throw up ahead of time, and I might be a nervous wreck, but as soon as we start, I'll be fine. I was gonna be the same thing like when we would do wrestling commentary live. I can remember being at a show, and do you remember Jazz from WWE?
Oh yeah.
She's changing clothes with the curtain right next to me with her husband, who was also in WWE, and she's like, "Can I have some of your Powerade?" As I'm doing color, and I'm just like, "You're literally almost naked," you know, and like shit like that, like meeting people like you knew or you like watched on TV, and you're like, "Hey, like I'm calling your match later." Like I called an Ultimo Dragon match.
Really?
Yeah. And I was supposed to call a Great Muta match, and we were supposed to call a Jushin Thunder Liger match, but both then pandemic happened and fucked it up. But I got to call a Great Sasuke match. So I get to call like all these wild things. I got to call a fucking David Arquette match, a tag team match. It also had the Honky Tonk Man.
That's so rad.
It also had the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine in it. It was bonkers. Got to call an NWO reunion. Got to call a Sting match. Got to call all these things.
I remember the Sting match.
So, like,
you had a Seth Rollins match too, didn't you?
I don't think we called the Seth Rollins. We did call Cody Rhodes match.
You called the Cody Rhodes match. That's what it was.
Called a bunch of Colt Cabana stuff, and I said this before on the show. I'll say it again. I don't like Colt Cabana. I find it a prick.
Yeah,
he was a dick to us. So, got to meet like Demolition. Got to like because they were like at a meet and greet at the show we were doing, and I was like, "Hey, you guys are awesome," and they were like, "Thank you." They were just very nice. But so we got to do all these cool things. But like I will always say, like if we're doing like a local show with like local people, I'm usually like okay because you end up being like cordial and friendly with them. But there's this whole thing of like you got to shake hands and kiss babies. I don't do that. Like I don't do the whole thing where I walk around the whole locker room and shake everybody's hands and all this. And that pisses some people off, but I'm like, I tell them all the time, I have a real job. This is something I do. I get paid very little for. I enjoy very much, but I'm not doing all that. Like,
right.
This is not my life.
You're not trying to break in.
Yeah, I'm not fucking 20 years old and I'm not kissing your ass.
Right.
But I have certain people who I mark out for hard. And they know who they are, and they will grief me hard about stuff. Eric Cannon, Pop, I'm talking about you. But like, it's so weird to be in those spaces and meet those people and do something with them. And like being able to do that too was super cool to like learn more about the performance aspect of it, like how important the ref is, because we have friends who ref. And you know, like how important like the announce team is, because it's like, oh well, you're telling the story in between what's going on, especially for like later broadcasts, like you're telling the story.
Right.
And like how much people appreciate it when you're like, take it fucking seriously. So it's fun to do that and to think that there was a point where we were doing so much stuff and it was going so well that could have gotten a lot bigger, and then fucking COVID happened.
And then COVID blasted it all away.
Yeah, but it was like it was such a cool run, like of doing fucking cool stuff, and like I said, like fucking meeting the Godfather doing Papa Shango was like such like 10-year-old me about had a fucking heart attack. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And John, the guy who does the booking, kept telling us, he's like, oh, there's gonna be some cool shit happens tonight. Like you're gonna lose your shit. I'm like, okay, John. All right. But I also was like, I was telling James, I'd be like, well, John doesn't lie to us. There's something cool that's going to happen. I'm just trying to play it off like it's nothing. He's like, do you want to know? No, I don't want to know. And he's like, okay, well, it's a big deal. And I just remember being like, oh my fucking God. And having at the same time not have that reaction on a live microphone.
Right.
Instead, just being like,
remember that
oh
you can't
gosh.
swear. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just be, and you know, just shit like that, or being at a live show where we were calling the Ultimo Dragon an outside show in shitty weather. And Ultimo Dragon coming out with Sonny Ono, who I'd met because Pop had given my wife and I seats at a big first show, and we were sitting by him in like the VIP area, and me getting a picture with him, like, and him giving us donuts, which was weird as fuck and being really cool. And then like 8 months later, I'm calling this match and he's bringing out Ultimo Dragon and he's like, hey, donut guy. And I'm like, hey, Sonny Ono. So I have to turn my microphone off, stand up, and like we're shaking hands and everything. And James and I think Warrior was there too, are both looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we're in the middle of doing this. What are you doing? I'm like, hey, when Sonny Ono calls, you drop everything.
Yeah, sorry. I'm the donut guy.
Coolest guy. Sonny Ono guy, calls, he's the coolest guy. Yep. His wife's like 8 feet tall, and he's like 5 foot tall. So just like, we're best friends now. So you guys can fuck off.
Yeah. I've got other things to do in the moment. I'm best friends with Sonny Ono.
Yeah. Or doing like interviews over the phone with people. We used to do the heel turn, and like having Chris Wolf call us from Iceland during a flyover, and it's 4 o'clock her time and it's like 5 o'clock our time, like 4 a.m, and she's waiting for a flight coming back from Japan from like her final tour of Japan.
Oh my gosh.
We just talked about video games for 2.5 hours. We didn't talk about wrestling at all. Just weird shit like that. Like, it's just like when you find, I think we're both pretty blessed to find ourselves occasionally in these really weird circles of people where you're just like, oh shit, like you do cool stuff. Like, tell me about this cool shit you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, this is weird, cool shit that like 10-year-old me would be having a heart attack. 40-plus-year-old me is like still having a fucking heart attack. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I got called backstage 2 years ago. So we have an amphitheater where I work, and we have had some pretty big names out here, and Ice Cube has performed out here twice.
Nice.
And the second show that he did,
a hard one too, because his politics suck now.
I know.
I remember us hitting. Oh God, Ice Cube and the Lynch Mob had such good albums.
Yeah. How do you? Anyway, but he had such a good time on the second show that he and the food we provided and all of that stuff. I run a food and beverage department. So, but he asked that, he gets to meet the team. And so we got to go backstage and dap him up. And, I didn't get a contact high, but I easily could have if I'd stayed in the room another 5 minutes. I've done a fair amount of drugs in my life, and there were at least 5 blunts going around the room, and there were maybe 7 people in the room at the time. But yeah, just it's just running into that sort of stuff. And he was just a nice guy. He was just thankful that
That's so wild.
Yeah, it was just like hey man, great job, thanks.
It's so great when you meet like people like that, or people have worked with them, and you hear a good story, rather than the like going to Kansas City Comic-Con, standing in line for an hour and a half, meeting Todd McFarlane, and he being like a giant piece of shit. Just like you when you meet people. And at the same Comic-Con, we met John Byrne, and he was fucking awesome, and he's crazy. Like, he talked to us like for 45 minutes.
At a Comic-Con?
Yeah, he bought our comics for us and then signed them. I still have Man of Steel #2 that he bought and then signed for me. Because I was just like, I just wanted to meet him. I was like, well, and he was in this weird spot, like away from everybody, and like this, I think he had just done some Star Trek thing, because it was like in a Star Trek area.
Okay.
But it was the same one Todd was at. Oh, Todd.
Todd.
So Todd had like this line outside the building. There was a couple other people there. who were relatively big names at the time. Like Byrne was just starting his downward slide of just doing independent stuff for like 5 or 6 years. And he was the nicest fucking guy. And I was already a fan. And I just remember being like, oh my God, this was like the greatest person I've ever met. And we talked about Superman and we talked about like all this weird shit. And then like a couple years later, I think it was Chris Kaysen was like, he's a giant fuckhead, right? And I was like, no. But he was nice and didn't have to be nice to us. He was like, yeah, but still.
Yeah, it was 2015 or 2016. We were at G Fest in Chicago. And
I bet Simon loses his mind when he goes.
Oh, he goes every year. I mean, even if we don't go, he's now old. I mean, he's 23 now. So he's got his group of friends. In the last couple of years, they've all gone together. But Haru Nakajima was there and doing, they do meet and greets, and they will sit at those tables in the signing for like 10 or 12 hours out of the day, because if there are 6,000 people there, 4,000 of them will stand in line to get the autographs, especially for someone like Nakajima.
Yeah.
And we went through it. We stood in line with Simon for probably 2 hours to get there. And I mean, just one of the kindest people that, at least in the time that it took for all of these kids, all of these fans of all ages, for them to just the way that because you could see him we stood there in awe for an hour watching him, interact with probably 300 people in front of us in this line. And it was just, it's just one of those things where you meet one of those people and just go, man, you're a good one. You really are a good one. The first year that Simon went, I can't remember the director's name. He did Wolfman versus Godzilla.
Oh, there's like it's a lost film, right?
Yeah, lost film.
I've seen like bits and pieces of stuff from it, but
it's terrible. It's wonderfully terrible.
I love that though. That's my job.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
That's why I'm watching Paul Nashi in an hour.
Right? Yes, exactly. But I wasn't there, but Tara talked about, my wife talked about the interaction that Simon had, because Simon was young at the time. Simon was maybe 12, I think, and was just so excited because, Simon, enough about Simon. You want to know something about Godzilla, he'll tell you. He was winning trivia contests at G Fest at 11 years old. Anyway, so yeah, the director Shoei, I can't remember his name. Anyway, Simon still has the poster downstairs. He gifted Simon the poster, signed the poster and gifted it to Simon, because Simon was just rattling off all of this stuff at him about the film and asking him, he's like 12 years old and asking him all of these questions about the Wolfman suit and this, that, and the other. And it was just, we framed it. It's still hanging on Simon's wall and will probably hang on his wall forever. We live in Northern California and we have to make fire escape plans. And Simon has this massive collection, of toys and collectibles and posters and all of this stuff.
I thought about that.
And he, we had to, make a list of the things that if we have no time, what are the things that we absolutely have to grab? And that was the very first thing on his list. He was like, we can't leave that poster. He's like, that has to come with us.
There's not a whole lot that literally gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, but that shit does.
Well, he still talks about you to this day, man. He still asks, so years ago, Ben found out that Simon was, this huge Godzilla fan. And so Ben sent Simon this package of every Godzilla movie that he could get his hands on, that he burned off onto CDs. And not only did he burn them off onto CDs, but he created these intro screens for all of them and put music on it. And it was, he still cherishes every single one of those discs. So yeah, it's,
I
so warm, and talk about warm and fuzzy. That gives me all the warm and fuzzies.
I firmly believe that we are all responsible for ensuring that our little legacy of being dorks in a basement gets passed on.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
It's the same reason why if I can convince anyone to play D&D, I refer to it as spreading the disease.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, oh, well, if I can get you in a game, very rarely do I have somebody who leaves going, it was all right.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I guess it was okay. Same. I get, every time I hear someone in the last 25 years of my life is like, oh, fucking D&D nerds. I'm like, you want to play? I'm like, we can go back to my house. I have all the dice. I have all the paper. I said, we can roll up a character and 30 minutes we'll be telling a story together. And I've probably introduced 100+ people to Dungeons and Dragons over the last 25 years.
I love so much playing with people you haven't played with before, who like, so we have a friend named Zane who works for AEW currently.
Nice.
And we've known him for a while. I actually met him by cold calling him from my toilet.
Does he work like in production, or does he wrestle?
He works in production. He wrestles independently. He actually also books for an all-women's promotion. Super cool guy. Used to do podcasts with Jake Manning. I think they might have been roommates at the time. And Jake Manning, shout out to the Man Scout, just also another super nice guy. But Zane found out that I did Dungeons and Dragons, and he was like, well, can I pay you to run for me? And I was like, no, but if you want to play, I'll, because he was like, the problem I have, he lives in, I believe he lives in North Carolina now.
Okay.
But he was like, I always get stuck running. So I get to run for people. I never get to play.
Yeah.
So, I was like, hey, so he has played in Chaos Scar multiple times as John Senegar. He is a barbarian who thinks he's a thief because no one can see him. And generally he plays when I have a couple other guys from wrestling that are all over this. One of them actually moved to Minnesota this last year. He used to be Juke Joint Lucas Calhoun. I don't know how much, but he wrestles mainly now at the Galaxy Cons, the cosplay wrestling.
Okay.
I think he might be their champion right now, but he wrestles mainly as Wreck-It Ralph. But also he's done Omni-Man, and his Omni-Man is frighteningly perfect.
Okay.
He's like, I have to grow that fucking mustache, and I have to lose like 45 pounds so I don't look like someone stuffed a potato into that outfit.
Right.
The whole thing is like, he does like powerlifting stuff. So he's like a thick dude.
Oh, so he's just a meat.
Yeah, and he's like, but the thing is too, he's older than you and I.
Okay.
By a couple years.
Wow.
He looks incredible. But he's another guy. He's like, he's like, oh, you run D&D? He found out through other people that I knew in wrestling. He's like, I heard you run D&D. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, hey, I got room for me one of your games. Which then introduced me to another guy in the Atlantic area who's also another wrestler who's like, heard you run D&D. I was like, how many wrestlers know that I run Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, not enough. That's how many, not enough.
Yeah, so it's like super cool when you like, especially people you've watched wrestle. And I try not to be like, oh, well, I saw this thing and you did this. Instead, I'm just like, I've seen your shit, it's good, or I've seen your shit and I didn't care for it. But I always find like, if you get somebody at a table and you can bring enthusiasm and you have a story to tell, people they love it. They love it so much.
And being the key is being a fan of the characters that are in the game. That's the key to getting people to buy in and even if they don't know anything about their character, you ask them a handful of questions and just play off of the answers that they give you and treat them as if they are heroes. You make a friend forever by doing that. It's
true. I mean, think about like all of the games that you played or we played together or you played with other people, where just like, I'll forget other things. My TBI sucks ass, but I'll forget things like where my car keys are. One time I forgot how to drive for 2 hours.
Right.
I literally could not figure out how to operate a car. But I will always remember like playing Star Wars in Jesse Summers' house during the summertime.
Right.
I don't think he'll remember that. I believe he's like a psychologist right now, or a psychiatrist or something.
I think so. Down in New Orleans.
Yeah,
Maybe?
something like that. But I remember being in his bedroom and playing Star Wars, and I can remember shooting Darth Vader with a sniper rifle. I can remember that like
I
it was
remember running around Brian Uphoff's house with GI Joes. You know, I had the helicopter, that dual blade I can't remember what it's called, and he had so many vehicles. Oh my god, he had so many vehicles.
If Matt was here right now, he would not only tell you what it's called, he would show you his mint in box and one outside, and then tell you about the 3 that he sold on eBay. That's on
I believe
he's
that.
Like, I'm getting out of the 3/4 business.
So,
I don't know if you've ever seen his, like, I don't know if I still have it. If I have the video, I will send it to you. One time I went to his house when we first started hanging out, and I saw his room, his toy room. And I was like, oh my God, I want to fall down on my knees and just like my eyes should be burned out, because you have
all of the glory,
all of the shit that I'm like, oh my God. And this is before he pared down his stuff too. But it was just the coolest shit ever. Like walking through, you had to walk sideways between the racks, because
one of those rooms
stuff. It was, but it's all out. It's all out, and like you could see it and you could touch it, and like it just, I love that. I hate the fact that we never had kids, but I'm super excited that other people did, and it's awesome that you have like young men. But like I love the fact that I've gotten to grow up and still be like the biggest fucking dork I could possibly be. It's
you do it well.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. For all the bad shit, I can at least go, I get to live the life I want to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have gotten to be uncle to a lot of fucking cool people who grew up to be very cool. And I'm very proud of all of them for that. Yeah, man, we got to find ways to game more together. Even though like now we just turned into bullshitting rather than.
It's fine. I don't care.
Which makes me super happy, because it's one of those things where I feel like you and I get to like talk like we're going in opposite directions in cars.
We are ships passing in the night very often. I've invited you to games, you've invited me to games, and we're like, yes. And then it comes down to the last 24 hours beforehand, and something always seems to get in the way. Yeah. Whether it's my side or your side, it doesn't matter. There's none of that. But I mean,
you are crazy busy though, because you have like a wildly like intense, responsible job.
Well, and especially after I moved out here, like the first. So I mean, I started my new job in California on March 10th of 2020. The casino I worked for closed on March 18th of 2020. I drove 2,000 miles over 3 days to 8 days later go, holy shit, am I driving back to Kansas tomorrow? Yeah.
I remember when you were telling me that, and I was just like, panic attack is not even the right word.
Right. Dude, I lived on the second floor of one of our hotels by myself for 32 days. I did my own laundry. There were about 40 of us still working in the building in a variety of roles. And part of my job was I would come in the morning and, we still had a ton of groceries in there because we were an operating casino with a bunch of food, and we packaged it up and froze everything that we could. But there were a bunch of perishables. You can't do anything with eggs or milk. So I was making breakfast and lunch for everybody that was working. That was part of my job that justified them to keep me on. It was interesting. Anyway, so yes, I was wildly busy. I'm in a much better spot now than I was 4.5 years ago, but
still, that type of work is such an unforgiving style of work. It's like when you're on, you are fucking on.
Yeah, it's true. Especially during the busiest seasons, and the position that I held at the time, I still don't know why my wife didn't divorce me and move back to Kansas. I'm lucky that way. I mean, I don't say that lightly. I love you, honey. You put up with so much. I mean, in 2021, I averaged about 13 hours a day and 6 days a week. Yeah, it was dumb. It was dumb. I weighed 180 pounds by the end of 2021, and
Duke.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. And I didn't see it. You know, I couldn't see it because all I could think about was work. But I don't work that way anymore. I'm much better space. I'm much healthier. I put up boundaries and, you know,
Yeah,
tried to protect myself and the people around me a little bit more.
I had to get to a point where it was like no more 4 a.m. phone calls. No more like
Right.
I can't get up and then drive to South Dakota to pick someone up who tried to jump off an overpass because they had a psychotic break, and none of the state hospitals has a bed for them, so they shipped them to fucking South Dakota. You know, and because you're ultimately the one who has to make the decision, you're like, I guess I'm driving to South Dakota today. You know, I just got to a point where I just could not do that anymore, or people commit suicide, and the buck stops with you. So it sucks. I couldn't do it, so I was like more than happy to go do something that was a little less intensive. So I'm a little worried about the new job because dealing with the homeless population can be very bad when you see people relapse or they just keep coming into the shelter situation and they can't find their footing. But
are you running a shelter? Is it
I will be doing case management.
You'll be doing case management.
So it's a nonprofit. I will be inside the building. So I will basically the people that I will be doing their cases, they'll have access to me. Although my boss was like, yeah, you only are going to be doing meeting hours between after the first hour you get there and you will not do any of the last hour you're there. That's for paperwork time and for you to decompress.
Yeah, good.
So my caseload won't be terrible. Like 2 jobs ago, I did case management for extended employment, vocational rehab. I was an employment counselor, and primarily for kids with disabilities who were like coming out of, I don't know what you'd call the schooling now, but there's a school in Minneapolis called Transitions Plus, and it's for folks who are basically extended schooling.
Okay.
So I would go to the school and I would meet with the kids, and then we would figure out like, okay, let's look for jobs. But I thought also like, how do you get a job? How do you interview? And I loved that job.
I'll bet that was really rewarding at times.
But it was super fun because like seeing kids get their first job, and that when they like, you forget like how much value we place on a job. And when they're like, I got a job, and then you're just like, fuck yes. Not like that, but I mean, like when I get my car, I'm like, fuck yes.
Right. Yeah.
And when they're good at it, I had a kid at one point who had 3 jobs at one time.
Holy moly, that's awesome.
Because he had to have money to buy albums because he was a vinyl collector.
Yeah.
He was an absolute joy to work with. Occasionally I still get emails from him. Yeah.
Nice.
His parents are great. I also worked with his younger brother, who was the complete opposite. They had the same diagnosis, and they could not be further apart on any spectrum. But they were both very, very just good young men who desperately wanted to like work. They wanted to pay their own way because they also were like, if I can pay my own way, it means eventually I get to have my own place, which eventually means I get to have this or I get to have that. And I'm like, hell yeah. We're all like that. We all want that.
Yeah. That's a normal want. It's a normal, you know what I mean? It's a normal desire. Simon is, just started driving in the last year or so. He's 23 now.
That's really good though.
Yeah. It's been great.
I worked with a guy who had his master's and could not drive.
And couldn't drive.
Because his was mental health, but his anxiety would just destroy him.
That was it with Simon too. I mean, Ivan was 14 when we put him, in Kansas, you can get your learner's permit at 14. And he was so busy doing all this stuff that we were like, you're going to driving school and you're going to get the keys to your mom's van and you're going to drive yourself to all of these 900 things that you are enrolled in. But Simon he was just like, nope, I can't I can't. His anxiety wouldn't let him do it. And nicely, cool, it was very cool. We put him on a riding lawnmower.
Shit, that's a great idea. I never would
It
have thought of
worked.
that.
It worked.
That's genius.
Yeah, and he fell in love with it. Yeah, dude, he fell in love with it. And it's slow, you know what I mean? It took us a little while, it was a year and a half or so before we finally got into the car and drove around the neighborhood a few times. And then it took a little while longer. And now he's,
that is genius. That is so smart. I've had people try like video games and stuff like that and simulators, and it always comes down to like the lack of realistic consequence.
Right.
So they're like, "Oh, I messed up," and it's like, "Yeah, but if you mess up in a car,
it's not the same thing."
But if you mess up on a riding,
you don't get to hit start again in a car.
If you mess up on a riding lawnmower, there's consequence to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, dang, that is brilliant.
Yeah, it worked.
I'm going to tell everybody I know who's asked me in the past about like, do you have suggestions? I'm like, I do now.
Now you do. Put him on a riding lawnmower.
That's brilliant. That's really brilliant.
And he's going to start. He's going to take college classes in the spring. We have a community college here in Reading, and he's going to take some classes. And
that does not surprise me. He's very smart.
Yeah, he's super smart kid. But a lot of it
you have two crazy smart kids.
I do. It's true. I'm very lucky. But a lot of it has been his anxiety around school. And, we had some bad experiences when he was young and pulled him out and homeschooled him through high school. And so, formalized education it just has a stigma in his mind. But we were going through class lists, and he really wants to do, because Simon's had a YouTube channel and been making videos on his YouTube channel since he was 9, I think.
Yeah, a very long time.
I mean, it
was toy reviews.
Yeah, yes, he started with toy reviews.
Toy reviews. I remember.
Making these, silly little construction paper stop motion videos. And he titled some of them as if they were Ultraman episodes. And you can go to his YouTube channel, and several of his videos have hundreds of thousands of views.
It's amazing.
Because of how he titled them. And so people would be searching for Ultraman episodes probably and land on his little 3.5-minute stop motion thing. Hundreds of thousands
of fans
views.
Like that will watch that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. But he couldn't monetize any of those things, and we never tried. But so in college, he's like, oh well, maybe I'll get into graphic design or do some art and that sort of stuff. And then we were going through the class list, and I said, I'm reading off classes, and I said, what about sign language? And he lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. He was like, oh, he's like, that would be really cool. Cause he has a couple of friends that speak ASL. One of them is hard of hearing. And so it was one of those things that clicked, and then we started talking about the potential that learning that language has, for your future.
Yeah.
And he, and the idea that could get him a job. And
there is a desperate need for translators. Translators. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? I'm not trying to pressure him into doing anything, but it was really neat to watch the realization, like you said, of the kid who got the first job, and how great you feel about that kind of thing. And so I'm just excited that he's going to take some classes, and hopefully one of those things clicks and sticks with him, and he figures out where he wants to go from here. So
that's the thing too. I find, well, it's just like any of us. If we can do our passion, if we can find something we're passionate about, not only will it stick, we'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
So the fact that he finds that's something that appeals so strongly, like the effort is never going to lack. And if if effort doesn't lack, generally people are successful.
Right. When you have a passion about something, when you're passionate about what it is that you're doing, you will succeed. It's one of my favorite things to do, in all the jobs that I've had over the last 20 years. I tend to get into management of some sort, some way, shape, or form. And my favorite thing is finding the people within the company and going, oh, wait a minute, you should actually be doing this.
Yeah.
I can see that you're really passionate about this. Let's figure out how you go over there, and then you fit over here. And yeah, that's my favorite thing is catching that spark out of people and getting them into positions where they can really thrive and learn and grow into more than what they started as. That's my favorite thing.
I always try to remember. I took a job back in the day in Duluth, Minnesota, and was going to be working with, at the time, the most difficult person in the upper Midwest. And I was told, like, it's going to be rough. It's going to be really bad. Get ready. And my supervisor quit like 2 days in. And then my supervisor went on maternity leave for 3 months. So my boss of bosses was like, you're going to sink or you're going to swim. We'll find out real quick. And did really well, but he and I would have talks every once in a while. And one time we had a discussion and he said, do you know the difference between the people that you serve and the people that you supervise? And I said, no, well, that's a weird question. No, I don't. He said, well, think about it. We'll talk about it next week. So I thought about it for a week and I came back in. He said, did you figure it out? And I said, no. And he said, there's not a fucking difference.
There's not a difference.
The difference is pay. Your entire job should be devoted to the betterment of this person's life, of them having a better quality of life. That should be the team's entire mission statement. Your mission statement should better the quality of life of the people that you supervise, because if you do that, then they're going to do the exact same thing. It just trickles. It actually is a trickle down economy. But one of the best things I've ever had happen, in all the management roles I've had, is to watch people, like you said, find their footing or grow. When you see somebody and you're like, oh, I see, like, I should not be 2 floors above you. You should be at least beside me, if not maybe above me. I worked with someone who now does their own consulting work. And they and I will talk sometimes. And I'm just like, at what point did you realize I was a fan of yours? And he said, I think the first time was we were sitting down for a review and you looked at me and you said, why are you not my boss?
It's a great question.
And he said, I didn't really know what you meant. And he's like, but you were like my biggest cheerleader. And I was like, yeah, because you're fucking really smart and you're great at your job. Like, you're 10 years younger than me and you already know more at that point in your life than I knew then in this field. And that's not an easy thing to say, because I know a lot about what we do, but you're someone who you shouldn't be making a difference on a small scale. You should be someone who goes to the Capitol and is trying to change policy at the state level.
That's awesome.
I can do that to a degree, but I don't have the patience for that. I get mad and then I'm just like, well, you're fucking dumb. Like, I'm done talking to you.
Get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah, you're better at that aspect, and you can actually make life better for not just 20, 30, 40 people that we support here, but for like
everyone in the state.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So I think, it's when you like have that ability then, and you recognize like, oh, I'm around people that not only will the work I did hopefully have some type of legacy, but the people that we were like, no, you're great at this, be great at that. Like, don't just be okay at this shit, be great at that.
It's my goal. It really is my goal. Yeah.
And I think it comes from running games. I really do, because like when we're running stuff, I'm constantly like, okay, I don't want you to do something and be like, well, this was okay. I want you to do something like, this is the greatest thing we've ever done. This is so fun. And I think it's the same thing. If you can do it at work, and you can definitely do it in a game, but I mean, if you can do it at work, it's just like, it is the weirdest rewarding field. And it's why
the best. Yeah.
It's the reason why I work in a field where we don't make money. I will always jokingly say, like, if you want to make money in human services, you missed all the road signs that said you're going to be poor for the rest of your life.
Well, and in my business, the bottom end, right? Being a server, being a bartender, if you're good at it, you can make a shitload of money doing it. You step into management and you start making half as much as the people that you are managing are making.
It's no different in the business I work with. That first layer of management, because the moment you become salaried, you might still be putting in 80 hours a week, and the people you're supervising get overtime. So they're like doubling and sometimes tripling your money, and then you've got to take all the shit. And so it's like, why am I doing this?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. When I came out here, and started working for the company that I work for now, I couldn't get anybody to come over and become supervisors, even though there was a whole group of them that had been working in the building for years, and they knew the operation, they knew the customers, you know what I mean? They knew the expectations, all of those things, and they were ready to take that step. But we were only paying people $36,000 a year to be supervisors. And I live 90 miles north of Sacramento, California, which isn't the most expensive part of California to live in, but it's still in California, and it's fucking expensive to live here. It is very expensive. I mean, it's expensive everywhere, but it's really expensive here.
Sarah lived in San Francisco for a long time,
right?
And she rented from a relative who owned a brownstone, my grandma's brother, my great uncle. And you know what? He gave her a steal, and she still paid out the fucking ass.
Yeah.
Her rent then was quite a bit more expensive than my mortgage still.
Yeah. Oh,
it's crazy.
When we left Kansas, my mortgage was $506 a month on my house.
Oh my God. Oh
yeah. The first place that we rented was, I want to say it was $1,850 a month. I think was the first place.
I think that's.
I don't even want to tell you what I'm paying in the place I'm living in now.
I think that's honestly not much more than what Richard was charging Sarah for a basement studio in. I think it was at the edge of Five Corners in San Francisco.
That's cheap for San Francisco.
It was, and that's the thing. He was like cutting her a massive deal. So she's making all that money and living well there, and then moves back to Kansas with the same amount of money.
Right.
I think a raise, in fact, by the time that was all said and done. So she like just bought a house in Lawrence.
Right.
Like immediately.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? You can afford 2 houses for $3,600 a month.
It's wild.
Yeah. Anyway. But I fought and fought and fought to get money into the hands of the management team, because I was dying trying to find people to fill out these positions, and nobody would take them, even though I had all of these really capable people around me. And so I kicked and screamed and fussed and begged and pleaded and kissed ass and fucking cried. And I mean, I did everything.
Oh yeah.
And finally got it. And now I have built this team from inside the company. I don't have, well, that's not true. I have one person from outside the company, but everybody else on my management team is all internals that I've promoted into these positions and have watched them grow over the last 4.5 years. And it's glorious. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of them. It's my legacy. How about that? That's how I feel about it. It will be my legacy is all of the people over the last 20 years that I have helped to show them what they are capable of, or at least give them the idea that they are important enough to want more than what they have, and to go for things bigger than what they think that they know. So anyway,
I think that's amazing. I really do. I mean, I think that's absolutely incredible. And again, like I said, it comes back to the shit we do, like just playing games and stuff. It's like,
right. I said it earlier. You gotta be the players' fans. You gotta be the biggest fan of the characters that you can.
I can't remember I think it might have been a Mike Shea thing where I was like, yeah, you should not, it's never adversarial. It is your fandom. You're a fandom of your friends and the people you bring to your table. And
I love Mike Shea so much.
I do. I cannot, like, whenever we do prep school, it's gotten to the point now, I don't say it enough, but I should just put lazy DM prep worksheet on every prep that I do, because that's all I'm doing, as I just use Mike's.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even just say Mike, like we know each other. Lazy DM, Sly Flourish, his models, because he seems to always have good sessions and he seems to be having fun. Even when it's systems that, I'm not as excited about, but it's like, oh, I could see how that would be good.
And he codified so many of the things that we were already kind of doing. And he made them more efficient and more effective. I mean,
he's the perfect everyman in that spot.
Yes,
And if you want the super tech stuff, you go to like Matt Colville, who's like,
sure.
let me tell you how this ought to operate. Let me pull back the curtain and you can see all the mechanisms.
Right.
And it's
here are all the gears. Here's the math. Here's the formulas that got us to where we're going. And I love Matt Colville.
Like, yeah, I do too. Mike Shea's like, I don't have time for that shit.
Right. But I am much more of a Mike Shea DM than I am a Matt Colville DM, and always have been.
I would say it's Mike Shea seems like a guy that you could play at your table and that would have fun. And then afterwards might go, you might think about like doing this. It might be a fun way to do it. Matt Colville feels like a guy you'd run for, who then afterwards would, in the brutalest, kindest way, tell you, that all the things you missed.
Right.
But then go, but he would also be the guy who'd say, but it's okay to miss them because everyone fucking had fun.
Yes. Matt Colville would definitely be the fucking the rules lawyer, not during the game necessarily, but probably after the game, that would have a 4.5-page email that he wrote to you after the game.
He would never ruin the integrity of the game. He
correct.
would just tell you that he would not ruin the integrity of the game in that email afterwards.
Right, exactly.
So, but I agree. I think Mike Shea is a guy that everybody who not just runs but plays can learn a lot from. And what is it? It's the Tome Show. I will listen to the Tome Show, but only when they do behind the DM screen and only when Mike Shea is on.
Right.
I find a lot of those guys pretty insufferable. But
it gets old.
When he's on, I'm like, okay, all right. I can get yet another dose of sitting under Mike Shea's learning tree. So
yeah, it's rare. It's rare that I don't listen within the first day or two when a new episode of the Lazy DMs podcast drops. Even if he's just doing his, like the Shadow Dark Prepper, stuff, he's doing they're doing the new Tales of the Valiant, I just like listening to him think through how he's going to do things. I think it's clever and it's inspirational, and sometimes it gives me ideas for stuff.
And that's literally what prep school turned into. It was like, I just wanted a place that would force me to do prep and not wait till the absolute last fucking second. I was like, well, Mike Shea does this show. Maybe we'll just kind of ape that. And then it turned into, people coming on, and I've had wrestlers come on and talk about their process before, which was fucking awesome.
That's great.
There's a guy that we know in wrestling who plays a like fundy religious pastor character, and he wrestles like hardcore, like thumbtacks, gusset plates, you're gonna bleed for Christ type of shit. Oof. But he talks about he was like, I learned really quick in wrestling school that I was not gonna be, I couldn't work.
He wasn't gonna be Rey Mysterio.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how much you watch wrestling, but you know who Dante Martin is and Darius Martin in AEW? I
don't.
Okay, they're a team called Top Flight. We called most of their matches because they were kids here. They were wrestling under masks because they were underage to get into buildings.
Oh my gosh.
And they're amazing. They both should be even bigger stars than they already are. But he was like, I was in that first class with those two guys, and I'm watching them do 450s like it's nothing, and chain wrestling and doing all that. And he's like, I'm not that guy. I am a 80s style heel, punch kick. I got a couple things. He's like, and then I started to get more and more into hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling. And he went from being the Renaissance Ricky Norton, where he was basically like an evil artist, which was amazing. He would hit people with paintings. He would paint of them during the match. He also would do this thing called, I think they do the Renaissance Review, where he would rent out a building and have a wrestling show in it, but it would also be part wrestling show, part like stand-up comedy, part like art installation. They were incredible. He's a very cool guy.
Sounds like it.
He deals with a lot of shit because he's kind of the tortured artist in real life.
Yeah.
He's also a cook, so he also makes incredible food. So we have that in common to talk about, like, what did you make? What was that video of that thing you made? Not to say I make great food, but I do all right.
I've only seen the pictures. I haven't been blessed to have the food, but I
Just
can
think
tell
of
by the pictures.
Think of my dad's
right.
food. Think of my dad's food. I love you, Dad, but better. Or my brother's food, but better.
Yeah.
Actually, my brother's got wildly good food. It's very frustrating. But he switched to this religious thing, and he came on and talked about like 2 hours, like how he has to get in the headspace. Now he does a lot of like social media stuff. He was like doing these amazing like promo videos where it would be like Alex Jones, and then he would be doing the interview with Ricky. So he's just cutting up Alex Jones footage. So like it sounds like he's asking Ricky questions.
Oh my gosh.
And they're so good. He does all this wild shit like that. And it's just, he came on, he talked about, oh yeah, I would try to, like when I decided I was going to do this, I started listening to like religious AM radio. So I could start to pick up like the catchphrases and things like that, that these, preachers were saying. And I was like, we were talking about, I was like, oh, it reminds me of, what reminds me of is like, do you remember the 80s remake of The Blob? And he was like, yeah, because we both like horror movies. And he was like, it's like, it reminds me of the pastor who becomes the tent priest at the end of the movie and has like the leftover piece of the blob in a jar. Right. He's like, that's exactly what I want. He's like, I want to be this unhinged, guy who's got the smile on his face, but really is waiting to hit you with a car. So he can faith heal you. But like having those people on and talk about stuff like that, it makes me very hungry to go, okay, what's the next weird thing I can put in a game, or how can I get inside the head of this, or last weekend when we were finishing prep for the Oz game that I'm doing Sunday, I was talking about like, oh, I want them to potentially bust into this back room of this building, and it's a bunch of anthropomorphized animals playing cards, and they're basically gangsters.
I love it.
And they were like, the chat was like, yeah, that's cool and all, but is there a band there? And I was like, no. And they're like, there should be a band of chickens. And that band of chickens playing instruments would be called the fucking Roasters. And I was like, well, done and done. I mean, that's, how can I say no to that? That's fucking brilliant.
You can't say no to that.
They come, like the mob comes up with the best stuff. Like it's almost like this brainstorming freeform jazz time in the morning where we all just say stupid shit at each other, and eventually an idea clicks and everybody's off and running. So me leading into saying like, whenever you want to come on, you should come on. We can play games as well.
The good thing is that I finally hired the person to replace me in my old position. I'll be moving to a Monday through Friday. Yeah, probably not next week, but the week after. So that's going to free me up on Saturdays and Sundays, which I know I have threatened to come on prep school several times, and then it's just never worked out.
Open invitation. I tell everybody, open invitation. It should be, like I said, like that free form.
Yep.
Let's imagine jazz for a while.
Well, I will make it happen.
I'm excited. Especially because we run such different games. I want to pick your brain on like where you're kind of picking from and how you're adjusting things, because I think that's like the most fascinating thing. It's especially like, it's hard to tell an original story. So it's like,
you're not wrong. It's why you just have to follow your players more often than not.
Well, even tonight, I told them at the end of that session, I was like, I thought about doing the ending thing being
the Chupacabra
the Wolves of Snow Hollow. I don't know if you've seen that movie or not.
I haven't.
It's great. I thought about like how it's a werewolf movie, but is it? I was like, well, I was kind of going to use that ending, but I was like, I just used that ending in Chaos Scar like 5 months ago, and it was such a shock. The players were like, "What the actual fuck was that?" Because I realized none of them had seen that movie.
Perfect.
And it was just like, yes. And they were so pissed at the villain. Like they were legitimately angry. And it's had repercussions going forward because some of them stayed close with some of the other NPCs. Like there was such a heavy buy-in because of the suspense involved. So I was like, well, I wasn't worried about buy-in in this because I know you were already bought in because it's a stupid concept and how much stupid fun we were having. But I wanted it to be, cryptid should be kind of scary. It's
100%.
Especially when it's like a 17-foot tall, possibly giant cat Bigfoot person that may or may not be able to apparently fly, according to them. That's the other thing, giving them the green light at the beginning of that session of that potential that hack we've made, where like, oh, you just tell them what the name of the cryptid, and then they do just like on the shitty TV show where they talk about it in the truck, and
it becomes that thing.
Yeah. Everything's got red eyes. Everything has massive thighs in the CGI. And then Jeff will be like, I heard it chases cars. And you're like, does it, Jeff? They're yes-anding each other in this hillbilly car ride. And you're like, apparently this thing chases fucking cars. And it doesn't have black fur. It has dark blue fur. So then they have to repetitively ask their planted interviewee, like, so is that black fur? Is that well, I don't know, it looks like black fur to me. No, it's dark blue fur. It's so dark blue it's black. Shit like that. Like, I love a game that turns into that, and that game really, I think, did what I wanted it to do. Duke, where can people find you? Is this your only game this weekend? It better not be.
I'm gonna try to get in on all out of bubblegum on Sunday. I got to look at the schedule. I have Sunday off. You and I are going to hang out tomorrow night. If we want to run a session together, we can. If we just, I think we could just do Tubi and find some kind of a movie to watch together.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Right. I'm going to look. I have a pretty big event going on at work tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what time I'm going to leave. That's why I didn't really sign up for anything early tomorrow. But if there's room, I may sign up for something before we hang out at 10. But I definitely want to get into the All Out of Bubblegum.
That game's amazing.
That game's so amazing. It is Movember, so I look a little different than I normally would. I have had this glorious mustache for the last few years, and I got challenged by some of the guys that I work with to do Movember this year.
I was kind of like, what happened to your face? Your face.
So
your face got clean.
Yeah, I haven't looked like this in like 10 or 12 years. So we are, you can just go to the Movember site. It is raising money for mental health and for prostate cancer awareness. So check that out. If you would rather donate to Known World United and get us through, the goal this year for Extra Life, you can do that. I am at Invisible Duke on most platforms. I sometimes check them. Podcast, you can look up TTRP Theater, 2 words. We have 3 different seasons on there. The first season is called Renaissance City. It is myself and 3 of my college friends who we play a superhero game called Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition. It is a story set in an alternate universe 1920s Detroit. It is sci-fi, it's noir, it's hats, it's us being funny, it's a whole lot of improv. And then our newest season is called Desert City. We actually play D&D 5e. It's the first time that Jazz has DM'd. It is the first time that Dean has played 5e, and it's the first time that Chris has ever played D&D.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's really good. I'm typically, not unlike what Ben said earlier, I am also a forever GM. Some of that's because I'm a control freak. Some of it's because I like telling stories. Some of it's because you can't always find somebody to run games, so you just decide that you're going to run them yourself, just so that you can keep playing games. But I also love sitting in the GM seat. And
I do too.
so yeah, TTRP Theater on all the podcast platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube, all the places. So
I've got Nashy Boys next. I haven't told people what we're watching because I took the decision away from Colin, and I'm not sure what. It'll be a Paul Nashy movie. It's going to be great. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Meng on Meng. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I might. I have a 2000X the general, aka Rattler. I might take apart to make my origins Rattler because I love that head. And I don't collect that. I just have that figure because I love it.
How long is that window for Meng on Meng?
Meng on Meng is 8 to noon.
And okay. Then I might jump on with you. Simon has. I've been repainting some of Simon's.
Oh, fantastic!
You know, so
Simon's welcome too if he wants.
He set aside three Ultraman characters for me to do some repaints on. So if I'm up in the morning, I'll jump on with you for a little while and do some repaints.
12, I have DC Showcase Presents. That'll be pretty crazy, especially if people like deep DC cuts, because oh boy, do I have one for you. 9 p.m. I have not Bad Games. It's just we're playing the Zone, which is a DM-less.
It sounds really cool.
It's very cool. I highly recommend it. I think especially for like the style of game you and I both like. It's and then I have Crafting Kids at Sunday at 8 a.m. I don't know the mods we're playing because we were supposed to play Prehistoric Apocalypse, but that mod's not working in multiplayer. So Doug said he was going to find us something. That scares me, but it'll be fun. And then all out of bubblegum at 11. And then I have Oz the Weird and Wonderful at 1. Which leads us into the wrap show at 5. So it's going to be a busy weekend, but
it's going to be a busy weekend. Worth it. Worth every bit of it.
It is.
You guys are about to eclipse $100,000 in 10 years. It's fucking amazing.
I think we already did. If you count Dave.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah.
Yay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. Dave does streams like all year round. He'll do a charity stream once in a while, and I believe with Dave's last one, he pushed over 100,000. Because Dave's got a massive following now.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
He makes toys he does toy design now on the side.
Right.
Beyond doing like penciling work at DC off and on. But I mean, like people contact, especially wrestling people, like big name wrestling people contact him constantly to do customs for them. Because he does really good work. I mean,
it's so cool to see that stuff. I mean, and I only catch a little bit of it, but every time I see some, I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking rad.
He's just a really good artist in all forms.
Yeah.
So like he can make things happen where I'm still like, I'm perplexed by. I'm like, how did you fucking do that? So
yeah, I
can't sculpt at all.
I put paint on I cut cardboard off and it becomes my palette, and then I have an old coffee mug with some water and a whole bunch of paintbrushes that I have no idea what they're really supposed to do.
I got a bunch of makeup brushes. That's what I use.
Yeah,
and a bunch of craft paints, baby. Water them down.
Yeah, that's same. And I just love to do it. I have fun doing it, and it's it brings me joy. So whether I'm good at it or bad at it, I don't care. It just brings me joy.
Our friend Chris Horror Show, like I said, who does GalaxyCon. He's also now GalaxyCon's Warhammer painting ambassador.
Oh, that's cool.
His shit is so impressive. You give that guy an airbrush and it's like, holy shit.
That's cool.
And he's like, yeah, you should try airbrushes. And I'm like, no, I should not. That seems like a bad idea. That's a tool I should not be able to legally should be able to have. Oh, you mean it requires a air compressor? You really want me to have an air compressor? Because like local man burns down house due to air compressor accident.
With an air compressor burns down his home.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? All right, tomorrow. We're gonna hang tomorrow. We'll figure out what we want to do. Maybe we'll just make up a game tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do like a prep school instead, and we'll just fucking make up game. We'll make up a game.
Sure.
It'll be fun.
We can do a hack. We can just come up with a
Yeah, let's do a hack. Let's figure out a game we want to hack, and then like something we want to hack, and then we'll just make a hack.
Okay,
We'll
I'll
hack
text
a
you.
hack a hack. Sounds good. I will see you tomorrow. I will see the
All right,
rest of you like literally right now.
Right now. We're already 12 minutes late.
I'm late.
Thank you guys for being patient.
Bye, everyone.
Wait, anyone wears the cape? Anyone can wear the cape.
Do play it. It's awesome. Bye.